Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family of the GSRC. We're back for round 2 of the Production Car Cup Season 2024B, and this is one that I've been looking forward to since we signed off last week. It is TCRs at Knockhill. What a combination. If anybody is a fan of the BTCC, you will know just how good the racing can be when we put TCR at Knockhill, and I'm sure the GSRC will deliver just like their real life counterparts. I'm Liam Banks, alongside me is Daniel Saar, and we are here to bring you all of the action, not just from the Production Car Cup, but later on tonight we'll bring you the action from the GT4s at Imola. This is your championship standing of the Production Car Cup. It was an action-packed opening round, and Mikey Hammond actually ended up taking the round of victory with 58 points. Ryan Tagle got 50 alongside Gary Cousins. Sam Chapman had an incident that all but ruled him out of the feature race, but a strong showing in the sprint race means he is just behind them on 49 points. And then there is a whole host of well-known GSRC names behind him, with Adam Lavis, the last driver, in the top 10, but he's got Aiden Schultz, Phil King and others chasing him down to try and get into those lofty nosebleed positions. These are the conditions for tonight. No rain because TCRs are not enabled for rain. 19 degrees, 38% humidity, partly cloudy with 16 kilometers an hour wind. So the wind shouldn't be much of a factor, and it is all but perfect conditions, meaning anybody that has been practicing, they're likely to have just as much grip when they race tonight, if not a little bit more. So should keep incidents to a relative minimum. The drivers have just finished their qualifying, so we'll run through how that qualifying ended up. Stuart Ellis took pole position with a 52.3, just ahead of Sam Chapman, who will line up alongside him on the front row. Adam Lavis outperforms his championship position to start in 3rd place with Brett Barker alongside him. Then we've got John Baldwin and Dan Bartosh on the 3rd row, with Mikey Hammond, championship leader, and Dale Sharp in 8th. Nick Fotiadis starts in 9th with Gary Cousins in 10th. On the 6th row, we have Joe Baldwin and Kurt Lommenson. The 7th row is Greg Heaney and Guy Leach. In 15th, we have Adam Proctor, and Joshua Zuno starts alongside him, with Phil King in 17th, Greg Paget in 18th, and Craig Mason not setting a representative time and starting last and 19th position. We're just waiting for race control to finish providing their beginning of race rundown of the rules to the drivers, and then we will get to the checkered flag. We will start the race and get going. So this is a important time for the drivers. Each driver will treat this time a little bit differently. Some drivers will need to G themselves up. Others will be desperately trying to calm themselves down as they wait for the lights to start, and we are about to get racing. 2 lights are on. 3, 4, 5 lights. They're out, and the car's getting away. A little bit of tyre smoke from Stuart Ellis, but he gets a strong start, as does Adam Lavis. All 4 of the top cars getting a good start, but Sam Chapman dives into the lead even before they get to the first corner, and he sweeps through, taking the lead from Stuart Ellis, who is now in 2nd. Brett Barker gets ahead of Adam Lavis, but they are side by side going into right-hander. Adam Lavis will have the upper hand, and indeed he takes the final step on the podium back from Brett Barker. Dan Bartosh is in 5th place with John Baldwin, in 6th. Mikey Hammond goes off track but manages to recover safely, and Stuart Ellis takes the lead back from Sam Chapman. So Stuart Ellis, Sam Chapman, Adam Lavis, then Brett Barker at the front of the pack. Craig Mason, who I said didn't set representative time, is absolutely flying. He's up 6 positions from 19th to 13th on lap 1 as we watch Stuart Ellis and Sam Chapman go side by side. Sam Chapman on the outside in the black and red locked up SimSports livery, and Stuart Ellis on the inside in the black blue livery. Sam Chapman tried to go around the outside, maintain more speed, but was not able to do it, and in fact just lost out to Adam Lavis. I think he carried too much speed on entry and just washed out wide more than he intended. Brett Barker is still in 4th. Dan Bartosh is in 5th place with John Baldwin in 6th. Adam Proctor is up 6 places. He's up from 15th to 9th place, while Guy Leach is up 4 places, pretty much following him from 14th up until 10th. So a lot of movement in these opening laps as the drivers put these TCR cars to good and aggressive use. Lots of overtakes up and down the field. John Baldwin undoes the position he lost to Dan Bartosz, and Dan Bartosz loses another position. So I think he's gone a little bit wide and lost out to Baldwin and Hammond, who is up one position now from 7th to 6th after slipping down to 10th at one point on the opening lap. Adam Proctor moves further into the top 10, overtaking John Baldwin. So he's gone from 10th to 9th, and we are watching the battle for the podium positions on your screen right now. Stuart Ellis still in the lead, Adam Lavis in 2nd, Chapman in 3rd, and Barker in 4th. That's, I believe, Phil King going wide in the background. Adam Proctor there alongside Gary Cousins. Gary Cousins on the inside, Proctor on the outside. Proctor will try and go all the way around outside. No, he won't. He's going to try and get the cutback. Does a good move, but not able to get enough traction on the exit to get back alongside Gary Cousins. Gary Cousins makes the place his own. He's up into 11th spot, looking at the back of Guy Leach for the top 10. We are on board with Adam Proctor. Look at how much of the curb these cars are able to take. You can be aggressive with these curbs. They've got nice, fairly high on ride height, these cars. They take bumps quite well, and so you're better off unsettling the car by hitting the bump and taking that a few degrees off the radius of the corner so you can carry more speed than you are avoiding the curb and keeping the car nice and settled. I say that as Dale Sharp sets the fastest lap of the race with 53.5, so he's got plenty of pace at the back end of the top 10. And this is Adam Lavis trying to defend from Sam Chapman, who's desperate to get back 2nd position after losing out in an attack on Stuart Ellis. Of course, Sam Chapman did start in 2nd place, apologies. So he's 1 place down from where we started. Adam Lavis with a really good showing in his TCRs. He is strong in this category of cars. I've seen that before. Poor Sam Chapman only just keeping on track and not even did put one wheel into the gravel, but get away with this because of the qualities of these cars. The excited noise you heard in the background was Daniel, who is providing co-coms as well as producing these fine images for you, and a fantastic job he's doing so far of keeping us up to date with the action. Oh, that's a beautiful camera shot. You can just see in the background Mikey Hammond making the move, putting himself up into 5th place. That's Dan Bartosz. We are now following in the white and green liveried vehicle. He's just trying to get ahead of Dale Sharp, so he's lost a couple of positions recently. He's been up and down the field like a yo-yo, has Dan Bartosz. He'll be hoping to stabilise now. He's got a bit of a gap to Joe Baldwin behind, 1.9 seconds, and is very close to the cars ahead. So if he's going to move one way, it's going to be up most likely in the next few laps. Mikey Hammond is at the head of this pack. He's got 2.8 seconds, 2.9 between him and Brett Barker. So we've effectively got 3 battle packs in the top 10. We've got the top 4. They are barely separated by the width of a piece of paper, except for Stuart Ellis, who has actually pulled out a 1.6 second lead at Adam Lavis, just as I say that. We've then got the 2nd group led by Mikey Hammond, which includes him, John Baldwin, Don Bartosz, and Dale Sharp. That is a battle from 5th to 8th place. And then there is Joe Baldwin, Guy Leach, Gary Cousins, and Josh Zuno battling for the bottom 2 positions in the top 10. That is the state of play as we stand currently. Brett Barker at the back of that lead group, not able to make an impression. I don't think he's been higher than 4th at any point in the race. The top 3 positions have been swapped between Stuart Ellis, Adam Lavis, and Sam Chapman, but Stuart Ellis looking to make a decisive break right now, and you can see it visibly. He is much further away from Adam Lavis than Chapman or even Barker is from Lavis, so he is doing everything he needs to do to win this sprint race. The sprint race, of course, will be followed by a reverse grid top 10 feature race. So currently Guy Leach will be on pole for that 25-minute feature race, which will include a pit stop just based on fuel levels. You might be able to stop it, get all the way to the end, but that would take some very, very severe fuel savings, so don't think we're going to see that tonight, just based on the history of the Production Car Cup, unless I am very much mistaken. We are now a third of the way into this race, and everything has settled down a fair bit. Cars have stopped yo-yoing about. We do have some distinct battle packs through the field, and now we just wait to see a move. Brett Barker looked like he might try and get up the inside of Sam Chapman there, just didn't quite have the momentum to make it work. And Sam Chapman's hit that curb way too hard, and he's gone off track and has lost position to Brett Barker, and I think has got back on safely, judging by the intervals on the relative time, and we're about to get a replay of that. You're going to see through this chicane, yeah, hits that curb, gets the car all up and into the air, does well to keep the car controlled on the gravel and get it back onto the racetrack safely without losing more time, and he's just about in touch with that battle pack. So his goal now will be to try and wrestle that final spot on the podium for Brett Barker, but he will get another bite of the cherry in race 2 if he is unable to do so, as we watch Dale Sharp trying to pile the pressure onto Dan Bartush, sat half a second behind him right now. He's got to do that because he's got Joe Baldwin and Guy Leach not far behind, a second. All three of those cars within a second. So Dale Sharp needs to move forward, otherwise he might end up going backwards. And just there, just ahead of Dan Bartosz, you know what I was talking about, those battle packs. The battle packs that we had before are starting to spread out a little bit. This is Nick Fodiadis. He is really hammering Phil King, and I think he's about to get past. He's got the inside line. There's definitely where you want to be at that corner. Makes it clean. Very, very nice move there for Nick Fodiadis, who is well down from his starting position. Started in 9th. It's down in 15th, so it's not been the race that Fodiadis wanted. And this seems to be a bit of damage limitation. His goal will be to get as close to that top 10 as he can. If he can crack the top 10, excellent, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so with 7.5 minutes to go, which means he's going to have a lot of work to do in the second of our 2 TCR races tonight. So those battle packs just catch you up with how they have evolved. Stuart Ellis, he's well clear at the front. He's 3 seconds clear. No need to worry about him. He's got this one sewn up unless something drastic happens. Brett Barker is putting pressure on Adam Lavis for second, and Sam Chapman, after that incident, has fallen further behind. He was 1.2 seconds, is now 2.2 seconds behind, and if anything, he's under pressure from Mikey Hammond. So we've got Stuart Ellis out in the front by himself, Adam Maverick in second, pressured by Brett Barker. And you got Chapman, he's being pressured by Hammond. Joel Baldwin in 6th has got Dan Bartosz and Dale Sharp in close company. This is about a pack of 3 between 6th and 8th. And then 9th and 10th is Joe Baldwin and Guy Leach. They've got a little bit of a gap to Gary Cousins, and the 3 of them have all broken free of Josh Suzuno. That gap is now up to 3.3 seconds, so it's pretty clear who the top 10 is going to be at this point. Gary Cousins is right on the fringe, though. He could sneak his way into there, and he will be desperately trying to do that so they can have pole position for the feature race, and almost certainly a better finishing position as we go back on board with Brett Barker. He's got Adam Lavis just ahead of him. The gap has been below half a second for a couple of laps now, so they are very, very closely matched in pace. I suspect Brett Barker might have a smidgen more pace than Adam Lavis, but does he have enough to affect an overtake? As we know, catching is one thing, overtaking is another, and we often talk about the delta you need to overtake the car ahead. In TCR, that delta is minimum. It's not like you need a second a lap or even half a second a lap. Just a couple of tenths in the right place is enough to get you past. But does Brett Barker have those tenths? Does he have the quality to get past Adam Lavis? We will find out in the next 6 minutes. Nice view on board with Adam Lavis. You can just see Brett Barker's car through the mostly useless rearview mirror in the the rear windscreen in the background. See Adam Lavis just staying a little bit clear of those curves. I wonder if that's where Brett Barker is getting a bit of time. Brett Barker's got a really good run out of that corner. He's right behind Adam Lavis, getting the benefits of the slipstream. He's going to be outside for this corner, so what he'll do is he'll brake a little bit earlier. Hopefully that Adam Lavis is trying to get switched back, because you can see the amount of more momentum he carries out that corner. So he's carrying that advantage all the way down that straight, plus he's getting the slipstream. He'll put out the last possible moment without hitting him, and he doesn't. He's going to want to have the inside for the next corner. He won't have it. Adam Lavis is defending the inside. He's got the outside. He'll be very brave to super around, and no, he breaks it earlier again and will try to carry more momentum, but was unable to for the first corner. So that is all that good work he did trying to get the run out. Not been for anything. He sits still half a second behind Adam Lavis. And behind them, you can just see these two fighting. Is bringing Sam Chapman back into it a little bit, and he's pulling Mikey Hammond along with him. So just over a second now between Brett Barker and Sam Chapman, and just over a second between Chapman and Hammond. So the two of them, if they work well, might be able to insert themselves into this battle for the podium positions, particularly if Brett Barker and Adam Davis start getting alongside each other and slowing each other's down. We haven't really seen much of that so far. Brett Barker has been very patient with making a move. He's waiting to get a clear-cut move. I think he believes he's got the pace to do so. But if these two don't up their pace just a tad, they might find themselves under a lot of pressure before the end of this race, which we expect to see in about 4 laps time. further down the field just to catch up in that battle for 10th place. Gary Cousins seems to have dropped behind Guy Leach, 2-second gap there now, and in fact Dale Sharp and Guy Leach have caught up to Joe Baldwin just a tad, so they're now both within 6/10 of Guy Leach is within 6/10 of Dale Sharp, and Dale Sharp is within 6/10 of Joe Baldwin. So that's a very much a live battle for what is the top 3 positions in the reverse grid. And Gary Cousins is looking like he's just falling out of contention for the reverse grid pole, which looks to be going the way of Guy Leach currently. But if he has his way, it'll be Dale Sharp and pole, because he'll have gained an extra position in the sprint race. You just see it. Brett Barker looks a bit more confident through that section of the track. This is the second time in a row he's got a better run out of that corner. You saw there actually Adam Lay was taking more curb that time through that corner. I think he realised that he sacrificed too much time on the last lap, and that put him under pressure from Brett Barker. So smart driving from Adam Lavis there, adapting as he goes, not wanting to take any more risk than he needs to, but he's just increased his risk level just a little bit to make sure Brett Barker doesn't get the kind of run that he got last lap. Although Brett Barker looks like he's got a really good run out of this final corner. Will Brett Barker be more strong this time and really go for that inside line? No, he hasn't quite got the pace to get alongside Adam Lavis, and Adam Lavis is going to defend this easily into the first corner. I think that might be Brett Barker's best chance of getting second here. Get a good run out of that final corner, try and get the inside for that corner. Even if you compromise your line, if you have to go all the way into the inside because Adam Lavis is defending, I think if you have that inside, I don't think Adam Lavis is going to be able to hold it on around the outside. I've seen a couple of times he's almost had the run. She just needs to improve just a bit, just by a few Ks, and he might be able to get past. Just in the background, you saw Sam Chapman going off again at that corner. He really needs to fix that, because that is costing him. I've been watching the lap times. He is faster than these two. Not by much, but by enough that he should be catching them. But then he makes a mistake, and he drops back down. On the laps where he doesn't make a mistake, he does seem to have a little bit more pace. As we're watching, checking for flag fly, Stuart Ellis has got the win. Adam Lavis is in second, Brett Barker in third, Chapman in fourth, Hammond in fifth. Apologies, thought that was going to be an extra lap. And we got John Baldwin in sixth, Dan Bartosh in seventh, Joe Baldwin in eighth, Dale Sharp in ninth. Guy Leach takes pole position for the reverse grid top 10 feature race. Behind them, we've got Gary Cousins, who just misses out in 11th place. Kurt Nommensen is in 12th. Nick Fotiadis recovered to 13th in the end, so a decent recovery drive from him, although still 4 positions down from where he started. Adam Proctor is in 14th. Phil King's in 15th. Greg Patchett is in 16th. So interestingly, we saw quite a lot of movement in the early laps. I called out quite a few drivers that were up 5, 6, 7 positions, and in fact all those drivers that managed to do that ended up falling back down closer to where they qualified. So that qualifying order was very representative of the actual pace of the drivers, and these are your confirmed final positions. Stuart Ellis, commanding victory in the end, 4 seconds. Congratulations to Stuart Ellis. Adam Lavis, fantastic result for him, getting second place, and he'll fancy his chances of trying to keep Stuart Ellis behind him in the feature race. Brett Barker rounds out the podium in third place, just putting all the pressure he could on Adam Lavis. He will be desperate not to let Adam Lavis get ahead, because he knows how hard he is to overtake. So in the feature race, he'll want to keep him behind him and try and get ahead of the likes of Chapman, Hammond, Baldwin, get into those front positions earlier on, and hopefully for his sake, he can then defend from them later on in the race. Sam Chapman, we saw he had pace, qualified in second, finishes in fourth. Won't be happy, good, but he'll start in 6th place for the feature race. He'll have Hammond to overtake. That'll be the main danger. Those 5 guys, I think, are the ones you want to watch for the win in the feature race. As for who's going to get the win, could be any of them. The pace is close enough that if one of them is ahead and gets through that traffic earlier on, that could be the deciding factor for the feature race, or getting your pit strategy right. In 6th, we've got Joe Baldwin, 7th, Bartosh, 8th, Joe Baldwin, 9th, Dale Sharp, 10th, Guy Leach. Guy Leach will start on pole for the feature race. Great position to start in. He will want to hold on for a strong position inside the top 10. Keep as many guys behind him for as long as he can, slow them down, ruin their overall race time so that he can get a better position. In 11th place, we've got Gary Cousins, 12th is Kurt Nommensen, 13th Nick Fotiadis, 14th Adam Proctor, 15th Phil King, 16th Greg Padgett, 17th Craig Mason, Josh Azuno having issues, so he's retired early, and then we've got Greg Heaney, not in the race, I think might be in race control. Oof. Daniel, I will let you get a word in. How did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, hey Liam. Yeah, no, it was good. I was focusing way too intently on some of those battles, and so yeah, I didn't have much to say. But it was a A great race at the start there. Obviously, Mikey going a little too hard on the first lap, went off track, didn't cause too many issues, but obviously he dropped back from that leading pack. And then as the laps progressed, yeah, Stuart Ellis just went away with it. 4 seconds at the end there. I don't know if that was on pure pace alone. When we checked out the lap times, I brought up the lap comparisons there with Lavis, with one ahead, one behind, and Stuart Ellis was just so much faster across the entire track. So I don't think that it was the battling that caused that. I think Ellis was just that much faster, but obviously it didn't help Adam having to defend from Brett Barker so intensely all the way towards the end there. But luckily we've got 2 races, so that was only the 1 of 2. So we've got the feature race, and as you alluded to, it is a reverse top 10, which will mean that Guy Leach will start from the front, and those fast setters in the first race will have to do a little bit more work to get through that pack. Knockhill, of course, very, very famous in the BTCC circles. It's Scotland's only permanent racing facility, and what a racing facility is, especially that corner on your screen right there. Everybody just strapping in tight and taking flight right over. Unfortunately, some people went a little too far and hit themselves into the sand or into the gravel on the side. But otherwise, yeah, definitely the fastest way to take that corner. And I can only imagine we're going to see more of that as the drivers take to the grid, so we can start race 2.
Yeah, I think we are going to see more than that, because we've got some fast drivers behind some slower drivers to start this race, as is deliberate with a reverse grid top 10. So these, just confirming what I was saying, this is your starting order. Guy Leach on pole with Dale Sharp alongside him on the front row. Joe Baldwin and Dan Bartosh make up the second row. 5th place is John Baldwin. 6th is Hammond. 7th is Chapman. 8th Brett Barker. 9th Adam Lavis. And by virtue of winning the first race, we have Stuart Ellis in 10th position. On the 6th row is Gary Cousins and Kurt Normanson. 7th row is Proteadis and Proctor. 15th is King. 16th Paget. And we're going to cut away from that because the race is about to start. The lights are off and they are go. Some tyre smoke up and down the field. A good start for Joe Baldwin. He's looking like he might try and dive up the middle of the 2 cars to start on the front row and take the lead into the first corner. That's Joe. They're coming in the black car. They come together. Guy Leach and Joe Baldwin both keep it on track though. So rubbing is good racing as far as TCR is concerned. Dan Bartosh trying to get past Dale Sharp. That's the green and the blue car battling that you're watching right there. 5th place is Brett Barker in the silver car. So he's had a fantastic start. Just one a bit, putting a few cars between him and the other cars in the top 5 from the last race. Joe's gone off track, so he's got a little bit overexcited after a really good start and just all come undone already. So he's down into 5th place after starting in 3rd and getting up to battling for the lead in the first corner. This is a battle pack that you want to watch. Hammond, Baldwin, Adam Lavis, Sam Chapman with Stuart Ellis actually quite a bit behind in the background, so not sure what's happened there. He seems to have lost a bit of time compared to his top 5 contemporaries in race 1. This is Sam Chapman here battling Adam Lavis. I've said that a few times. I'm going to say that a few more times before the end of this Production Car Cup. They both know each other. They both do commentary and broadcasts together, so that one is someone who are definitely both going to want to win. I can confirm, because when I'm on the track alongside these guys, I really want to win. They're in 9th and 8th place right now, so not making much progress from the start. And in fact, Sam Chapman was ahead of Adam Lavis. He was ahead of Mikey Hammond. He's dropped 2 positions, so Sam Chapman not getting a start. He wanted a look at that gap to Stuart Ellis. It is completely collapsed. Stuart Ellis going down the inside on Chapman. Oh, has to pull out of it at the last moment. Sam Chapman not giving him any room, and I don't know if Stuart Ellis had earned the room. I'd have to see it from another camera angle, and that's caused Stuart Ellis to fall back behind Gary Cousins, so he's going to want to reclaim that place as soon as possible if he's going to get to grips with the likes of Chapman and Adam Lavis and stop them from getting through the field and putting more cars between them, because that's the goal right now. If you're in that top 5 in particular and you want to win this race, you're trying to put as many cars between you and everybody else in the top 5. And as far as who's doing that the best, Brad Barker at the moment is doing that the best. He is in 4th place. He's got Dan George, Stuart's going off.
Oh, that's a big hit.
Contact in the wall.
Oh, that's a big hit. That is massive damage on the front right there for Stuart Ellis. Went in a little too hot, coming down into the Duffer Step, and ended up costing himself right into the tyre barrier. We'll have a look at that again from the replay position here. So Stuart Ellis got past Gary Cousins. Looks like he just missed his brake marker there, and yeah, lost the back of that car. Bang! That is a huge hit, and unfortunately that's serious damage there. So he will have to come in and get that repaired. I'm not too sure if they've got a fast repair in this series or not, but in any case, down to 16th position. You can see that car is limping home as he tries to make it back to pit lane and get that quick fixed. Oh, and it's just, listen to it.
that is not a happy car, is it? What we don't know is lap 4, that's probably going to be too early to get to the end on fuel as well, so he's probably going to have to make another stop. It's not like even if he has a fast repair, he's going to be able to get to the end, or he might be able to if he does a lot of fuel saving, but it's certainly going to compromise him. This is not what he wanted. In addition to the time lost pulling that car all the way back to the pits, I think we can count Stuart Ellis out of this one, which really breaks open who could win this race, because the fastest driver from the sprint race, the most consistent driver from the sprint race, is now out of the running effectively, although he may continue in the race. We'll have to wait and see if he does end up exiting the pit lane. We're now on board with Brett Barker. He's got Dan Bartosz ahead of him. Guy Leach, Dale Shop, Dan Bartosz doing a really good job keeping the pace up high enough that those behind aren't able to just fly past. And what we just saw is why there was a difference in pace. Brett Barker able to brake so much later for turn 1, almost plows into the back of Dan Bartosz, but you can see it wasn't like he struggled to make the corner. It wasn't that he overshot his braking marker again to get wrong. He was just caught out by how early the car ahead broke, and I imagine what he's done there is he's actually broken even then a little bit earlier just to allow for that. It's something you do if you're behind other cars and you know, or you have a strong suspicion you might be faster. What you tend to do is you end up lifting off before you get into the braking zone, just to keep everything a little bit more calm, keep everything a little bit more controlled, so you can adjust if the car ahead brakes when you were not expecting some more, brakes harder, brakes earlier, etc. And now we've got Brett Barker all over the back. He's going to try and go up the inside. Can he get alongside enough to make the move stick? Oh, it's aggressive. There is a bit of door-to-door shoves Dan Bartosz off the road. John Bartosz looks like he might lose another position. No, manages to keep ahead of Joe Baldwin. Brett Barker, though, very, very rude through there. Be interested to see if Race Control take a look at that one.
Here's John Baldwin coming into the upper step as well. Almost similar to what Stuart Ellis did. Actually, a mirror image. Bang! Into the wall. So these guys are losing the traction on the rear tyres. It's going a little bit too hot, and when they hit the brake, all the weight transfers to the front. It makes the rear too light, and as they make that turn, there isn't enough traction on those rear tyres, and they end up swinging out wide. And unfortunately, all they have is a nice bit of grass and quite a solid tyre wall. So both Stuart Ellis and John Baldwin now bitten by that dip. Will they be the only two? Time will tell, but for now, Guy Leach doing well leading into this race, but Dale Sharp is right there, and Brett Barker, the one on your screen, also. Everybody looks like from 1st to 5th in that battle pack. Adam Lavis, unfortunately, just a little bit outside that 1 second mark, but he's got the pace around here, so wouldn't be surprised if it comes back to him. Also, do not forget it is a 25-minute race. We are 6 minutes in, which means there are pit strategies to go, and we will see how that resolves. And just to touch on your point, Liam, that you were saying a while back about the fuel saving, Sam Chapman's doing it fiercely. We just heard it in the background while you were commentating the first couple of laps. Sam Chapman is riding the clutch pedal like crazy down into the first turn. I'll cut back on board and we'll just see if we can catch it. We'll see if he's still doing it. So you can hear that beautiful Honda VTEC motor. And let's see if he's still doing it here. Not so much. Not as much as he was earlier on, but there's a little bit of fuel saving going on.
Yeah, he might have been doing it partly as a technique to just give himself space to avoid any calamity ahead of him, particularly if there were a bunch of cars in close succession. So it's certainly something that you'll see a lot of drivers do, the fast drivers. They'll use being behind drivers that they think are slower as an excuse to fuel saving, because not only are you improving your overall race time by doing that, because you can't go any faster anyway because you've got a car ahead of you can't overtake, or you're struggling to overtake. It also gives you a bit of leeway going into those corners, so you can, like I said, adjust. Just want to call out, Mikey Hammond has pitted. So he pitted on lap 5. I don't recall seeing an incident, so I think that might have been a genuine strategy stop. So Mikey Hammond, I think, has pitted to get himself out of the traffic and give himself some clean air. So I'll be interested to follow his race. My apologies if I've missed an incident and we haven't seen that, but that's what I suspect Mikey Hammond is doing, so going a very different way to everybody else in this race so far. Stuart Ellis did continue in the race. He's putting in very, very fast lap times, but given the time he lost trundling back to the pits, I suspect we won't see him at the point yet, but we might see him troubling the top 10. Such is his pace. On screen right now is Dale Sharp. He's in second place. He's got Guy Leach ahead of him. It's been this way for quite a few laps now. Brett Barker has got past Don Bartosz. We saw that somewhat rude manoeuvre. Like I said, be interested to see if Race Control like that or not, or whether they say it's TCR. You know what? go for it. No way that would fly in an open wheeler, but these cars are designed to rub against each other. Brett Barker in third place. He is by far the leader of those top 5, the guys that had the real pace in race 1. We saw there was quite a big gap between them and the rest of the top 10. So the moment Brett Parker would be my pick for the victory. Only 2 cars ahead of them, and this is the guy immediately ahead of him on your screen right now, Dale Shaw with Guy Leach just ahead. Guy Leach getting up, chicane, taking it well too deep in the first part, had to get it out of the throttle, couldn't carry any speed through it, and Dale Sharp taking it beautifully gets the lead. In fact, Guy Leach dropped behind Brett Barker, so we now have Dale Sharp at the lead of this race. Brett Barker in second, Guy Leach in third, and this is important for Brett Barker because if he gets ahead of Dale Sharp, you suspect he will have more pace than the chasing pack. So he's taking, got that wrong. He's taking too much curb at the first part of the chicane, and that's just completely unsettled the car, and he's had to get out of it, go onto the gravel, just to stop the car from rotating fully to the inside and going somewhere he was unable to cover it. Dan Bartosh is in 5th now, so he's lost position to Joe Trucker Baldwin.
Oh, as Dan gets a little too deep, so he actually had the counter of what happened to everyone else coming down on that dip. He lost traction at the bottom end when he went to go turn left, and that's unfortunately put him out. He's lost a bunch of positions there, all the way down to 10th position. Not ideal for the ETS Motorsport Honda there, but luckily for him, he's still got the majority of the race to go, so hopefully he'll be able to gather some of those positions back. Speaking of positions gained, Brett Barker up 6, obviously starting in 9th position there, and Joe Baldwin losing the most there, 11 positions from the start of this race. So an unfortunate one. Oh, sorry, John Baldwin. They both come up as Jake Baldwin. I misread that one there. So that's John Baldwin down there in P16.
But John Baldwin has pitted, and we've got a few more drivers that have taken the early pit stop. John Baldwin pitted on lap 6. I think he was involved in an incident. So there may be more to this than just the pit stop, so that 11th might be genuine. We'll have to wait and see. Kurt Lomlinson pitted on lap 9, Mike Hammond pitted on lap 5, Stuart Ellis and Greg Heaney both pitted on lap 3, and Greg Padgett has just joined them in pit lane. So there are a few people taking an early pit stop, trying to get themselves some free air, get out of the traffic so they can drive at their own pace. And this is John Baldwin.
Yeah,
yes,
that
we did
was
see that
earlier in the race. Yeah, that's what it was. Yep.
And that is a very unhappy vehicle. As we see, John Baldwin, he's in 4th place. He'll be quite happy with how this race has gone so far. Did get a nosebleed at the start, came a bit back down to earth after a couple of mistakes, but since then has ran in the top 5 consistently, and he becomes the first of the lead vehicles to pull into the pit. Adam Proctor following him in behind. Adam Proctor was in 9th position when he took to pit lane, so a few of the drivers now in the top 10 starting to get the mandatory pit stop. It's not mandatory, but the fuel is set as such that you will struggle to get to the end without a pit stop. Yeah, and they're starting to get that pit stop out of the way nice and early. It will be interesting to see just how deep Adam Lavis and Sam Chapman go. They both do love a bit of fuel save. They love going a bit further than the cars around them. They're both very intelligent drivers, so it'll be interesting to see what they do, particularly given they haven't shown much pace. Right? I'd expect them to have more pace than Sharp, Barker and Leach at the head of this field, just based on what we saw in the sprint race. But they're really not exercising it. They are well behind, and they're not lapping any quicker. In fact, they're lapping a bit slower. So I do suspect they may be fuel saving and trying to do something on strategy to get ahead through the pit cycle rather than on track.
I mean, Dale Sharp's doing a great job at the front here. Of course, an unfortunate mistake from Guy Leach coming over the the chicane just after the Butcher's corner, and recovered well. P3 at the moment, still has a 1.8 second gap to Adam Lavis there in P4. Sam Chapman, of course, closing the gap on him with a 0.5 at the moment. Brett Barker, though, looking for that attack, can't seem to get it work, and that's one of the characteristics of Knockhill, that you have to, when that opportunity presents itself, you have to take it, because there are only a handful of corners where you can make the move stick. One of them is the corner coming up. If you can get a decent draft down that main straight, you can try and shoot off onto the inside and get a better run going down towards McIntyre. But otherwise, if you don't, what you have to do is exactly what Brett Barker's doing right now. You have to fall in line and basically follow all the way through the chicane. It's Guy Leach gets sideways, can't catch the car, and ends up in the wall, and that's damage on that front left. That is not looking good. No, that is broken. That is a toe link broken on that Rothmans Honda. And just like Stuart Ellis had to limp his car around, Guy Leach will do the same. Not something you want to see 13 minutes into a 25-minute race, but sometimes that's how it goes. We'll see if we can catch the initial incident that caused that. So here we go. Comes down into the Dockers tip. Turns right. Let's see. Was it the same? Yes, he loses the back. Then he tries to catch it. Did well there, but then unfortunately, over the grass, into the wall.
Yeah, he did well to catch it initially. Wasn't much he could do to keep it out of the wall. Not with that elevation change there. Just absolutely brutal corner as soon as you start to lose it, and he'll have to pit. Thankfully, he is well within the pit window, so he won't be able to get to the end. So the only time he loses will be the time from the initial incident, and then the time to get to pit lane more than would have been had the car been fully functional, as Dan Bartosz and Guy Leach both plough into the pits. Important to note here, Dan Bartosz pitted, Joe Baldwin pitted. They both pitted from 3rd or 4th place, quite high up in the top 10. Look who is ahead of them in the timings. Mikey Hammond has played an absolute blinder. He's putting himself well in with a shout of victory here. He took an early pit stop. He did come out behind Joe Baldwin, so apologies, Joe Baldwin did come out ahead of Mikey Hammond because Hammond pitted first. But since then, he's been able to get past Joe Baldwin and put 0.4 of a second between them. So it's touch and go for where Baldwin is going to come out in regards to Sharp, Barker. I suspect right now he's almost neck and neck with Lavis and Chapman, maybe even a little bit ahead. So if they are saving fuel, they're going to have to save a little bit harder, because they may be giving up the victory to Mikey Hammond just based on the fact that Hammond has got all the clean area he wants in front of him, can run at his own pace. He's been running faster than Chapman and Lavis. He's already made his pit stop, and he's already come out ahead of some guys that were ahead of Lavis and Chapman. So Hammond is in with a stealthy chance of taking the effective lead of this race once everybody has pitted, and especially once these two have pitted. Brett Barker trying to get ahead of Dale Sharp hasn't made the inroads I thought he might once he got into that second position. We saw Guy Leach in second place going off, giving the position to Brett Barker, and I thought, right, now Brett Barker's probably going to really go for this, get into the lead and try and make the decisive breakaway. Has not been able to do that. Dale Sharp doing a fantastic job out front to keep Barker behind him as we go to about a little bit further down the top 10 with Gary Cousins and Nick Photiadis. These two were on the fringes of the top 10 before people started making the pit stops, so I'll be interested to see where they come out once they make theirs, and also interested to see who is going to be ahead when they go into pit lane. Will it be Photiadis? Will it be Cousins? We don't know. Photiadis is doing everything he can to make sure it's him. Because it's just got a bit out of shape there, getting over that curb. Just saw the car wobble a bit as we watch Barker take the lead from Dale Sharp. Dale Sharp, very, very kind to Brett Barker on the inside, gave him all sorts of room, compromised his own corner, and it's given Brett Barker not just the lead, but a healthy 0.6 of a second lead. Dale Sharp, no hope of fighting back. I think he just decided that wasn't his battle, but perhaps cost himself a little bit too much time in letting Brett Barker through. And now, the good thing for him, though, is he can follow him, try and get the slipstream. That should make it a little bit easy to maintain the lap times if he can stay within touching distance, and maybe even learn a thing or two about where he's missing just that last 10th to the very, very fast guys that we had in race 1, of which we've just cut to them. Nice camera work. We've got Adam Lavis in 3rd. He's still being chased by Chapman. Chapman still hasn't quite got his head around where the barriers, where the white lines are and where the edge of the track is. Constantly on the gravel, not sure how he's keeping the thing straight. So I guess props to him for keeping it straight, but he might find he gains a little bit more time if he can actually keep it on the racetrack.
So 17 minutes into a 25-minute race here. The majority of drivers have made their pit stops. You can see in the counter on that timing screen, only the top 6 are yet to stop in this race. The leader of those who have is Joe Baldwin in P7. Sam Chapman goes over the chicane there, nice and easy. And he's doing a really good job catching Lavis at the moment. If we actually have a look as to the lap times of these two, you can see that it goes back and forth. Lavis faster there on lap 15 and 18, but Chapman does have the advantage on the other 3 in the record. Not too much faster though on lap 19. You can see it's 0.018 the difference. So Lavis is doing a really good job holding Sam Chapman off. But these guys have to pit at some point, or maybe not. We've seen these drivers before fuel save their way to a no stop. It's sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not. You just heard the clutch cut in there, so Sam is being a little bit more aggressive now on that fuel save. And the only problem is, on your camera, the TCRs may look small, but trust me, Adam Lavis knows how to make the rear of that Hyundai as big as possible. So Sam's going to have a very difficult time trying to get around that. And of course, as these guys fight more and more, the gap ahead of them increases. Adam Lavis is now 3 seconds back from Dale Sharp in P2, who Dale Sharp himself is 1.8 seconds back from Brett Barker. So Barker is just going to absolutely run away with this. Again, you do have to consider pit stops. None of them are stopping though. And there's only going to be a handful of laps left. So we'll see how it all plays out in the last couple of minutes here. Sam Chapman is getting closer and closer with every lap. He's getting right there in the attack range coming through. All Adam has to do is one slight mistake coming in, which we've seen, especially in that sector, multiple times this race. But for now, he's holding steady. And there really is no threat from behind for Chapman, so all he has to do is focus on Lavis, as Nick Fodiadis is 7 seconds behind there in P5.
Yeah, fantastic racing from these two, and just while these two have been battling, Nick Fodiadis got past Gary Cousins. We saw the start of that battle a little bit earlier on. Fodiadis managed to get past and has broke away 2.2 seconds. So whether Gary Cousins made a little bit of a mistake or Fodiadis just got past and then had more pace, I'm not sure. But that was a swap for position last lap or a couple of laps ago. Elsewhere, Mikey Hammond has fallen back behind Joe Baldwin. Now, Hammond seemed to be pulling a little bit away from Joe Baldwin, so I'm not sure if Hammond made a mistake, and they're almost side by side right now. I saw the interval get down below a tenth of a second. So there's a really tight battle between the two of them going on, and if it is that Hammond did make a bit of a mistake, and that's why Baldwin was able to get back past initially, then that's interesting, because I think that gives advantage back to Brett Barker and Dale Sharp at the front of this race.
Ooh. Oh, they both went off track. Okay. It's a nice little exchange there.
I think it'll be a case of, well, you both went off track. Game on. Continue. So that was very, very interesting.
Wait a minute. Sorry. No, there was Barker comes in. There's a little bit of a timing glitch there. It just said that Nick Fodiadis was out, and I thought to myself that can't be right. But no, that's. He's back there in P5 at the moment. P4 now, as Brett Barker, of course, has pit from those fronts. So Dale Sharp back in the lead of this race. Adam Lavis, 0.7 behind. So it is well and truly ready for a fight at the front here. We are 21 minutes into a 25-minute race. Now, the last race, we actually got the white flag a lap early. I'm not too sure why that was the case. They were lapping at around 52.2, 53 seconds. So we did have time on the board for at least one more. But that's not how it went. So keep an eye on that top left where you can see the sprint feature, the lap and the time counter. When the white flag flies, that should turn white, and that will give up. Never mind, Barney is showing it to us now. So as you can see, it's early. 21 minutes. There's 25.
You know what
I'm not
it is?
Sure.
It's been set to 15 laps and 25 laps.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, in that case, these two have done well. No pit stops from the guys at the front here. Let's have a look. Just to double check. Yep. Everyone in the top 5, no pit stops. Hopefully they'll make it.
No pit stop for Dale Sharp, but look how that gap for Dale Sharp to Adam Lavis has absolutely collapsed. I think Dale Sharp has realised he needs to save a bit of fuel if he's going to make the end of this race. And that could make it very interesting because, like you said, you can make these TCR cars very, very wide when you need to. So Dale Sharp is going to have to balance trying to make sure he gets to the end, but also keeping Adam Lavis behind him. And Adam Lavis can sniff a victory, but he's not going to have enough time. Dale Sharp is going to take the victory. Adam Lavis is in second. Sam Chapman rolls across the line in third place. Pretty sure he wasn't accelerating on that final straight. Nick Fodiadis is going to come home in fourth position after also not making a pit stop. Gary Cousins is in fifth, not making a pit stop. Brett Barker, the first car to make a pit stop, in sixth place. He will be gutted to have lost out on the win. Joe Baldwin in seventh, Mikey Hammond in eighth, Dan Bartosh takes home ninth, and then Adam Proctor is in 10th. Behind them and outside of the top 10, we've got Phil King about to cross the line. Stuart Ellis trying to recover from his earlier incident, recovers to 12th. Kurt Lomerson in 13th. Guy Leach in 14th. And then John Baldwin and Greg Padgett will be 14th and 15th. Well, well, well. A no-stop race in the feature. A heap of fuel saving from those lead vehicles. Dale Sharp playing its absolute perfection. Finished 9th in the sprint race, first in the feature race. Congratulations. So Dale Sharp takes the victory, Adam Lavis in second, and Sam Chapman the final spot on the podium. And the three of them have got a mighty gap of almost 10 seconds to Nick Ferdiadis in 4th, Gary Cousins in 5th, and Brett Barker in 6th. He in turn has got a 5-second gap back down to Joe Baldwin, who finishes just ahead of Mikey Hammond and Dan Bartosh and Adam Proctor. Then outside the top 10, Phil King, Stuart Ellis, Kurt Normanson, Guy Leach. John Baldwin finishes a lap down, as does Greg Paget, and then Heaney, Mason and Zuno did not take the grid. These are the updated championship standings. After that round, Hammond just about holds on to the lead, but he's got Sam Chapman only 2 points behind him now after a much improved feature race showing in this second round. Adam Lavis, 2 strong results, puts him up into 3rd, almost a double podium, finishing 4th and then 2nd. We then have Gary Cousins in 4th place, he's down 1 spot. Dale Sharp up into 5th place on the strength of that feature race victory, and Brett Barker up 3 spots into 6th, showing tremendous pace here, so watch for him to try and make an attack on the top positions. He is effectively the bottom of the lead group because they have got 15 points then between him and Guy Leach, who's got a trail of people behind him trying to fight for those positions in the top 10, including John Baldwin, who's leapt up the standings, Phil King and Ryan Tegel, who did not show tonight. So that 50 points is with a drop round. Tell you what, we said at the end of the first round that we were going to really look forward to seeing the TC Cars at Knockhill, and correct me if you believe I'm wrong, but they did not disappoint.
No, they definitely didn't. Well, I thought this would be a really good showing, and it really was. Both races absolutely stellar. Obviously, the second one a little bit more heated with that extra time, but due to, I don't think it was meant to be set laps, but in any case, so people went a little bit early, and that allowed those guys at the front. So a good job, a good showing there from Dale Sharp and Adam Lavis. As we just see Sam Chapman here trying to keep up to this front pack, and it was absolutely chaotic in the start of this second race. You can see at the time Hammond just going around the outside, and an unfortunate one there for Ellis too, who of course met his fate into that right side tyre wall, just going down the dip here in turn 1. I believe we do have some drivers who have come in, give their piece, so I'll hand it off to you, Luke.
Yeah, we certainly do, and they all came in at the same time, so we'll actually start with the winner of the feature race, Dale Sharp. Dale, first of all, congratulations, absolutely fantastic drive from yourself to keep some very, very fast drivers behind you. You did lose a fair bit of time in that last couple of laps. Was that because you were so desperate for fuel, or did you make a mistake?
No, I was saving fuel and doing a lot of hoping and praying. But yeah, so I can't remember who it was that went past me, but I was just praying that he wasn't. I was praying that he was going to have to push and he was going to have to fuel, and I knew I was borderline, and I started coughing coming out of the last hairpin. So, and I think Adam Lavis, I think my teammate there, I think he started coughing coming out as well. So. Luck was definitely on my side.
Yeah, so the plan to do a no-stop was there from the very start. Was there any point you doubted that plan, or were you confident in it from the go?
No, I was sort of fairly confident. Like, I knew I'd got it within a litre, and then I had to push a little bit. And but I mean, once you've been saving fuel for about half. For half the race, it's sort of like you make your bed, you got to lie in it, and you got to commit to it, and I mean, it's a 4-cylinder, so it's a very hard car to save fuel in, but no, I just did some short shifting, did some early back offs, and like it was just enough. Like I wouldn't want the race to be a few hundred metres longer, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely not. And so this was a much stronger result than you had in the sprint race, I'm sure you're aware what I was saying. So you finished ninth in the sprint race. Did you not quite have the pace in the sprint race, or did something go wrong for you?
Oh, I made a couple of mistakes on cold tyres, and that put me back a little bit. And then from there on, I just tried to hang on to the top 10 because I knew I'd be inverted. So the guys that were at the front in the first race, I know they must have had some bad luck with the reverse grid. So there was just another thing that went on my side. But I think this is my first ever win in a broadcasted race. So glad to do it for Aussie Racers and Bailey Ladders.
Oh, congratulations. It's always a special moment getting your first win in a broadcasted race, so you can actually show your friends. Have you got anybody in particular you're going to show some of the clips from the broadcast tonight?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My partner usually tunes in, so she'll probably be all over the comments. I haven't had a look yet, but she'll be getting pretty excited. But yeah, there are a few people that you know. It's always good when you go to work and they say, "Oh, have you go on your race?" Oh yeah, I won, man. You know, it's always a good feeling.
I wouldn't know what that's like.
Oh, I've got the aloe vera somewhere. Hold on.
One day, the dream will come true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming onto the broadcast. Congratulations on your victory. We'll talk to go and talk to a couple of the other drivers that have joined us.
No, appreciate it, guys.
Enjoy tonight, and if you are watching, Dale Sharp's partner, congratulations. Your partner did a very good job tonight, and I think he deserves a treat. Now we will go across to Kurt Nommensen. Kurt finished 13th, so very consistent with your two finishes across the sprint and the feature. 12th in the sprint, and then 13th in the feature. Not quite able to crack that top 10. Was that the hope going into the race?
Yeah, I was trying, but I just knew I didn't have that couple of 10s I needed to crack the top 10. I could see them, I just couldn't catch them.
Yeah, were you in that mental state where you're torn between hoping that they make a mistake, but also knowing that that's not the right thing to do?
Yeah, I was hoping they made a mistake, but at the same time, I wanted a clean race, so at the end of the day, P13's not bad, considering I jumped in the sim to do practice for this today.
Yeah, no, it's always a good effort when you can get towards the top 10 with minimal practice. Particularly, have you driven the TCR car much?
No, actually, I think I've done one race in the TCR outside of this, so I'm very happy with the P13 here.
You should be. The TCR are tricky to get pace out of, so if there's drivers in here that have done a fair bit of TCR driving before, they would have a distinct advantage. It's quite hard to just hop in and be quick. You have to get very used to sort of how much the cars push on acceleration. I'm sure you would have noticed coming out the corners that you had to really delay getting on the throttle, otherwise you just understeered off. So yeah, they're quite tricky to extract the pace from and get the rotation into them in the corner. Yeah, so 12th and 13th. And you said you had clean races for both.
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, I had a few off tracks, a few big moments over the chicane, as you do. Yeah, I think I was sideways for 90% of my laps. Absolutely launching across the curbs through there and then gunning it out on the other side, but I was just having a bit of fun with it.
Well, good fun is what we're here to have, right? And isn't this car and track combination just absolutely brilliant?
Oh, I had so much fun. One of my favorite combinations, I think, on the sim. I'm definitely going to do a lot more like AI races around here and have a bit of fun.
Yeah, excellent. You'll be properly fast by the time we get to the second TCR round in the second half of the season.
Definitely, yeah. I'll probably load up the AI races to try and get some practice at the next track for the TCRs.
Yeah, excellent. And how are you looking forward to what vehicle is it next week? Is it the MX-5 next week?
Or the it's the MX-5 Laguna, I think.
Oh, that's a good combination as well.
I think. I don't know. I can double check here.
Yeah, that sounds correct. Yeah, that's a really good combination. If you haven't done that, you're in for a treat. So enjoy that. Have you driven the MX-5 before?
Yeah. I love driving the MX-5. So much fun.
Excellent. See you in the top 10 next week.
We'll see. Yeah. No promises.
No worries. Thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box. Hope you'll join us again next week and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll get across to Sam Chapman, who brought it home in 4th place in the first race after running in 2nd, and then 3rd place and the podium position in the feature race. A more consistent round for you this time, but without the peaks that you had in the first round.
Yeah, I couldn't quite get the pace of some of those guys up front, Jay. It was particularly that jump. I just couldn't quite master it consistently. So that really sort of took out of the pace, and yeah, that was a few mistakes here and there. I find the Honda quite tricky, but I stick by it anyway. And then you know, realised that we're going to go lap critical for the second race, and decided to fuel save. But yeah, Adam and Dale did a better job. Really good job to those guys, and but yeah, really good race out.
Yeah, I'm not wrong in thinking you were completely out of fuel when you crossed the line.
Completely out of fuel. It's I'm working with a new fuel calculator, and it hadn't given me a buffer for the coughing period. So it started coughing as I was coming up right here, and I went, oh gee, that was close. At least there was about a 9-second gap behind.
Yeah, thankfully there was that gap, so you're still able to hang on to the podium positions. We saw you getting onto the gravel quite a lot. Did you have any particular moments where you thought you were going to lose the car?
There's probably a couple of times where it was close, but not really. And that's, I think, why these things make such a good combo around here, is that, you know, you can be very, very sideways, and because they are that front wheel drive, they can sort of just pull you back into line if you put a bit of lock into it. So you can, you know, a track like this where you've got these jumps and undulations and you might go off and that sort of thing, you can sort of save it and bring it back, rather than completely spinning. So not really, but I also knew that pace wasn't 100% there today, so I probably wasn't pushing at, you know, 100%.
Yeah, excellent. So given you knew the pace wasn't there 100%, fourth and third, you're going to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's decent points. In a round, you know, the pace wasn't amazing. You know, was able to stay out of trouble, which is partially due to, you know, doing a more of a fuel save strategy in that second race as well, right? So you're just sort of sticking behind and not making any hard moves, which was good. But as well, you know, you need to. I wasn't involved in too many battles really either. I just sort of sat behind Adam there. Yeah.
And next race, like I said, MX-5 out of Laguna Seca, would you back yourself to have the ultimate pace at that track, in that car?
That'll be an interesting one. I like the MX-5, but I haven't done it for a while. And I like Laguna Seca, but it's another track that can really bite if you make the slightest error. So, you know, I think there's a chance that I will, but I'll need to find my feet with it first.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going to take your driver's hat off for a second and get you to put on your production car. What's the term for it? Leader? I don't know. The organizer of the Production Car Cup. How do you feel about the attendance so far, and how do you feel the Production Car Cup and the new layout with the 5 cars has been received so far?
I think people are enjoying it. The attendance isn't enormous, but I think we've probably seen that with a few of the first races this season. Maybe it is just a bit early for some. I know Chris Whitaker was going to jump in here because this is a favourite combo of his, and he couldn't quite make it home in time. So I think there is that aspect with these. You know, I'd imagine as well we get a bit of a rotation of drivers sometimes with this one, given the different cars and track combos. Maybe we'll see some Porsche specialists jump in at some point or something like that. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it at this point, and just hope it sort of lasts throughout the seasons. It doesn't sort of die off towards the end.
And have we seen many from the up-and-comers playing their trade in this category? Because it's got very similar rotation of cars, so I thought we might see quite a few of the up-and-comers giving it a go.
I think we've got bits and pieces. I think we've got a few. I think I'm hoping we have a few up-and-comers in the Vs tomorrow as well, because they did Oschersleben in the V's for the up-and-comers this week. So they've already had a bit of practice and sort of know the track and that sort of thing. So I hope some of those guys come out for that on tomorrow. But yeah, I think there'll be a few. I mean, with up-and-comers as well, you probably, you know, usually you're a bit more beginning and you either may not have all these cars or you are not confident in all of them. You might just be confident in some. So we might see a few that sort of, yeah, duck in and out.
All right, well, thanks heaps for joining us in the commentary box. When can I expect to have you back in the commentary box in a commentary role?
Well, I've actually been hoodwinked into jumping in tomorrow for the Super Formula Lights. I've said no to V's. I won't not race V's, but I'll take a drop round for the Super Formula Lights around the Hogara ring and do some commentary tomorrow.
So looking forward to hearing your voice when I watch it back, and probably in anger because I've crashed out yet again. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon. Good luck for the commentary tomorrow night, and best of luck with the rest of your racing for the week.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, I think that's all the drivers we're going to have join us. Yes, there certainly is. Thank you to all the drivers that did join us for the broadcast. Always a pleasure to get your words and hear your thoughts after a race. And of course, we can only bring you their words and thoughts and the broadcast as a whole because of our sponsors. And we'd like to thank Waste Options, Sprayton Non-Alcoholic Cider, Orbic Australia, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave, and Flash Graphics for their continued support of the club. It is only because of them we are able to put on this broadcast. It's only because of them we're able to bring you the GT4 in a few minutes time, and it's only because of them that there will be the broadcast for Sam to commentate on tomorrow night with the Formula V's and the Super Formula Light. With that said, we're now going to take a little bit of a break so that we can swap server and get into the GT4s from Imola. So don't go anywhere, we will be back very soon. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for staying with us with that brief interlude. We've jumped across the ocean to Italy, and we're coming to you live from Imola in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. And thankfully, it's not underwater, so we are able to bring you racing live from there tonight. And it is, of course, round 2 of the GSRC GT4 Championship. Imola, a very, very famous track in motor racing circuits. Most famous, of course, for the sad fatality of in Senna. It recently revived its position on the F1 calendar, becoming the second race hosted by Italy on the F1 calendar, and has been there for about 4 or 5 years now, ever since COVID gave it the opportunity to reclaim a position. And due to its history, it has stayed on the calendar. These are the championship standings going into the second round. John Merritt leads with 69 points. He's got Samuel behind him on 59. Gary Cousins then behind him on 48. So quite spaced out at the front of the field. Behind Cousins, it is very densely packed though. We've got Welsh, Adam Lavis, Kurt Chapman, Dale Sharp, Aiden Schultz, and Glenn Sido-Riddell, all in close comfort, as is Daniel Piper on the edge of the top 10, with Oscar Haynes in 11th position. You then got Mikey Hammond, Nick Fotiadis, Dane Stanton, Paul Wood, Eduardo Zamora, and David Christensen, all within a hair's breadth of getting into the top 10 in the championship standings. And then behind them is Neil de Bruin, Jeff Adams, and Tony Barker. Interesting to see Oscar Haynes in 11th, as he had a very good, very strong showing in Super Formula Light last week. So look for him to try and move himself up those standings. These are the conditions for the race: 21 degrees, 7 kilometers an hour wind, no wind, perfect temperature, perfect conditions, an absolutely beautiful, partly cloudy day at Imola, ready for what will be a 40-minute race. Single race coming to you tonight. This is the standard format. This is the sort of format you're going to see most commonly throughout the season. There will be a pit stop. Maybe not yet on one lap of fuel in a 40-minute race. It's full of chicanes. It's very, very tricky to be quick around here. There is a lot of corners where you need to cut it the right amount to be fast, but if you cut it too much, you will get a slowdown, or you will pitch your car off and potentially into a wall. So the drivers are going to have to manage how much risk they take at certain corners throughout this track, because risk equals speed, but it also equals barriers if you get your calculation just wrong. You can see the sausage curves on the inside of the chicane there. You don't really want to be hitting those usually. They will upset the car quite a lot. Daniel, do you have any specific memories of Imola, either from your own racing or in professional racing, that you'd like to share with the stream?
Well, I mean, the key memory that's always going to come with Imola is, of course, the unfortunate day in 1994. Where, I should say, the unfortunate weekend. Sometimes it does get glossed over, but where, of course, we had the deaths of Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, which radically changed safety in Formula One forever from that weekend. And, of course, the layout here at Imola with the Tamburello curve, which is now a chicane. That's turns 2, 3, 4. As from a sim racing perspective, I don't really. I really do like Imola. I think it's one of those classic circuits. I mean, Italy really does have those classic circuits. Imola's just one of those. I guess it's just steeped in tradition and history, and it's kind of hard to ignore. It's, you know, where as Richard King comes around, Rivata, last 2 corners of the circuit, and it's just one of those really nice. It's funny because a lot of people write it off. You wouldn't think so, but a lot of people dislike it in comparison to, say, Monza or Mugello. But personally, I think Imola's a mighty fine circuit, and just as these guys wrap up qualifying, I think they're all going to prove to everyone at home as to why that is the case.
I have to say, I'm in that camp. I'm not a huge fan of Imola, but I'm very biased because I'm very slow at Imola, and I just don't get why. So I probably can't be trusted in terms of how much I like this circuit. Doesn't matter what car, I just can't do it. Don't know why. Just does not click with me. As we watch John Merritt, something click with him because he's in third position at the moment and looking to try and improve upon his previous lap time. Luke Turner going green in the first 2 sectors. And Brendan Whitaker is in 7th place at the moment. He was unable to improve.
Actually, that's something to keep an eye on. So obviously Chris Whitaker currently in provisional pole with that 149.8. But as you said, Luke Turner, just as he gets that red border in that 3rd sector there. So we'll keep an eye on him. We'll jump on board with Luke Turner there, the Sim 3D Sport BMW. Comes down towards the Barza there. Turn 18 and 19. Anthony Adshead obviously going green in the sectors 3 and 4 as well. So as they cross the line, Sam Muir at 0.08. Actually, no, he's just going to come straight in. So that's called out. Have a look at... Oh, hold on. Did my eyes deceive me, or is that correct? Sam Muir and John Hotlap Merritt have done the exact same time. A 149.92.
They have indeed to two
What
decimal
are the chances
places.
of that?
2 decimal places, but Sam Muir 0.002 of a second quicker.
Oh, actually, this has happened again. Gary Cousins and Oscar Haynes, 150.46. And Jeff Adams has done the same. Wait, no. What? Yes, 150.79. Adam Lavis and Jeff Adams. What?
I think we're in for some good races. Good racing in this race, given how
That's
closely
crazy.
tied some of these drivers are.
That's three. Wait, that one. Wait, Luke Turner and Jordan Malcolm did the same as well. Oh my lord, what is happening? I'm not ready for this. This is giving me Jerez vibes. When it was Villeneuve and Schumacher and the other one. I apologize for that. It has escaped me.
Yeah, so yeah,
Frentzen?
to run through
Harold Frentzen?
Heinz Harold Frentzen.
Yeah, I think that was it. But in any case, that's nuts.
That is absolutely crazy. So here we are to confirm that for you. We've got Chris Whitaker on pole with Sam Muir. Alongside him, John Merritt, 3 thousandths of a second slower in third with Anthony Winkelman. Alongside him, Luke Turner is in 5th, with Jordan Malcolm in 6th. Both of them separated by only 2 thousandths of a second. Brendan Whitaker is in 7th. Mikey Hammond is in 8th. Cousins is in 9th, with Oscar Haynes in 10th, only 3 thousandths of a second slower. In 11th place, Richard King with almost the identical lap time in 11th. Paul Wood in 12th, with Thomas Martin behind him in 13th, and Tony Barker in 14th. Proctor is in 15th, with Riddell alongside him in 16th. Interesting seeing Riddell so far down the grid. Adam Lavis in 17th, so not quite as strong on the GT4s as he was in the TCRs earlier today. He's got Jeff Adams only 4 thousandths of a second slower than him, and he lines up in 18th place, with Kurt Chapman in 19th, a further 3 thousandths of a second slower, and then Jake Jackson in 20th. Jake Jackson, a name I'm used to seeing much further up the field, so we're interested to see what he could do from 20th position. Anthony Adshead is in 21st, with Nick Ferdianis in 22nd. Baldwin is in 23rd, with Zamora alongside him in 24th. Sharp 25th, De Bruin 26th, Kurt Lommenson in 27th. Top 10 is going to be a struggle for him. If he can get anywhere close to the positions he got in TCR, he'll be quite happy, I imagine, for 27th. Daniel Piper is in 28th, Bartosz is in 29th, Bowman in 30th, and then McGrath and Foster did not set times, and we do not know whether they will be taking the grid. So, at least 30 cars strong, could be for 32 cars, absolutely packed field. Look at them all stacked behind the safety car. That's a fair bit of money right there, and they're going to provide a fair bit of racing over the next 40 minutes for you mine and Daniel's pleasure. The safety car has started from the short safety car version, so it won't be doing a full lap. We are already approaching Rivazza, so the safety car will pull away fairly shortly and we will get this race underway without too much of a delay. Rolling start, and with 30 cars on the grid. I think that's probably 31 cars in the end on the grid. I think that's probably for the best. But Samuel is going to want to get more up alongside Chris Whitaker before the start of this one, because he's putting himself at a little bit of a disadvantage that he need not do right now. And indeed, he does pull alongside Chris Whitaker for the start of the race. Chris Whitaker will decide when to put the accelerator down to the metal and show us what this GT4 car can do in a straight line. And in fact, he has already gone and he's already pulled the wall over Samuel. Samuel under a lot of pressure from Merritt and Winkleman, looking like they might go 3 wide as they head towards Tamburello. Indeed, they won't be the only one cars going 3 wide, because they are side by side by side all the way down this pack. Can't quite see what's happening there from the trees. We can just get a glimpse of Glenn Riddell. He's got Thomas Martin and Richard King alongside him. Further back, Green Aston Martin almost went off, but just managed to keep hold of it. The white and orange Merc, not quite so lucky. He gets into the grass. That's going to compromise his speed going down the straight and put him under pressure. We're watching Mikey Hammond. We know he's very aggressive, trying to overtake. Yes, the Kirby livery of Brendan Whitaker. Love that. I ran the Kirby livery myself a couple of times, so feeling a connection with that guy right there. Mikey Hammond, he's got Oscar Haynes and Tony Barker doing battle behind him. Mikey Hammond is on the outside there. He's going to lose out to Oscar Haynes in the orange and white, fairly traditionally coloured McLaren. Not many McLarens in the field. Oscar Haynes, the leader of them, Adam Proctor in 16th, and then Bowman in 28th, the only 3 that we've got out there. The field dominated by Aston Martins, Mercedes, and Mercs predominantly, as they are the fastest of the GT4 cars in the current balance, is my understanding. Oscar Haynes only put position into life, not as many positions to Walker. Tony Walker's got 3 positions. As is Glenn said, Riddell told you to watch out for Riddell as we were going through the qualifying positions, and I've been proven correct so far. As watch Oscar Haynes, he's lining up for a move on Gary Cousins. Absolutely textbook, just pulls to the inside. He holds him up on the apex and gets the move done.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive move there from Oscar Haynes, but I think the platform of that McLaren allows him to do so. So he's moved up 2 positions already as we kick off lap 2, but it looks like Gary Cousins might have something to say about that as he goes towards the left side as they run down towards the first set of corners. That is the Tamburello chicane. But it looks like Haynes will hold on to that 8th position as they make their way through. Having a look at the front end of the grid. Chris Whitaker still in the lead of this race. John Merritt, 0.17. Behind out, that's a crash back. I think that's Tony Baker.
Yeah, Tony Baker just ploughing to the inside of the corner there. Not sure if got a touch, we just got it all wrong through Villeneuve. So we're watching Richard.
Yes, hits the curb there, and unfortunately the car lost it on the rear and smacked right into that tyre barrier. So I don't know about the damage. Doesn't look too crazy, but obviously he'll feel that.
And I think Anthony Adshead and Daniel Piper might have had a bit of a collision, because I've just seen both of them plummeting down the timing screens. In fact, we're going to get a replay and see what's happened here. So we're watching Daniel Piper in that rather...
So that was Neil de Bruin, I believe, behind, and then Daniel Piper went wide. So just cut across the nose there of de Bruin.
Yeah, interested to see what race control make of that. There's been a few changes in position up and down the order. No one's made huge gains. Anthony Adshead, the only big loser as well, down 10 positions as Neil de Bruin goes down 4. We saw both of them involved in incidents in quick succession. Chris Whitaker still leads out front as they approach the start of lap 3. John Merritt right behind him. I suspect John Merritt's got decent pace here. I'll be interested to see if he does decide to make a move at some point in the opening laps, or if not, how the fuel shakes out once we do get to those critical pit stop laps. Samuel is in 3rd, Anthony Wickelman in 4th, and Luke Turner in 5th, and they are effectively a lead group. It's gap just over a second then to Jordan Malcolm. He's got Brendan Whitaker, Oscar Haynes, Mikey Hammertime Hammond, Gary Cousins, Richard King, and Glenn Riddell. Close company, and basically from there all the way down the field, it is within a second of each other. So not much field spread in the opening 2 laps here as we watch John Merritt pulling alongside Chris Whitaker, but it is a left-hander, so Whitaker will have the inside line, which is what you want. Merritt's going to try and hang it around the outside and carry more speed. Not quite able to do so, and now Sam Muir's having a look at Merritt.
Yeah, he just went a little sideways coming out of the exit there. That's cost him some time. That's given Whitaker a slight breathing room. So now Muir's going to be a little more aggressive on the back of this Aston Martin as he sees the gap form. And Winkelmann also in this battle. Luke Turner close by, but 0.6 puts him in the yellow range. So won't be in with an attack just yet. But of course, we still have plenty of race to go. It's a 40-minute race here around Imola. So these guys will have to consider pit strategies. As well as just a flat-out speed. It looks like Nick Fodiatis also had an adventure back there in 23rd position. Here we go, coming down towards turn 1, or technically turn 2, because the kink on the straight actually counts as a turn. And there we go, just didn't want to pull up, took the escape road. By escape road I mean the sand. Makes his way across, rejoins safely, but loses a bunch of positions in the process.
As he should for making a mistake. That's what tracks should do. They should punish you when you make a mistake. If you can stay in the race but lose a bunch of time, that's perfect. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, and it's funny. Let's just touch on that slightly because it's one of those things that gets discussed, but I don't think everyone has all the information, and I certainly don't either. As I just want to check here, does John decide to go up on the inside? No, John seems to like to sit back and calculate a little bit. So no attack there. Tried to do it the last lap, didn't quite work, so it looks like it'll be a little bit more patient this time around. But yeah, just going back to the track limits thing, so you would think that the sensible idea is you have tarmac, and that's where you race, and then you just put grass or sand or gravel or whatever on the outsides, and then there you go. It's self-policing, right? But the problem is that if you have a track that's for both, say, Formula 1 and touring cars and MotoGP, grass on the outside of a track and sand on the outside of a track is kind of death for MotoGP. And so what they have to do is they have to find this medium, and the medium is generally that you have tarmac or concrete runoffs. But the problem is once you do that, right, as Mario Andretti once said, if you put a piece of tarmac down, I'm gonna race on it. That's what I do. So it's unfortunately a delicate balance, because again, you would think that it's common sense. Just put grass, something slippery there, you're fine. But it's not as easy as that, and so unfortunately they do have to go this back and forth, and that's why you get these dumb rulings on track limits. And even if you have that, it's pretty straightforward. You've got 2 giant white lines, and just be on the inside of those. Problem solved.
Yeah, what I don't get is why it's not a fully automated system. I don't want to hear that it's technologically difficult. It's really not. I'm sure it is not hard to determine where a car is on track in relation to 2 white lines. I refuse to believe that. Just automate it, take all the guesswork out of it, make an automated system. Bada bing, bada boom. As we're watching John Merritt, he's going to try and automate his overtake. Past Chris Whitaker, has got the inside, heading into Camberello, already gets past him. And Sam Muir looking threatening behind as well. So John Merritt takes the lead in this race. We've suspected for a couple of laps he might have a little bit more pace than Chris Whitaker. You saw him getting really close behind Whitaker and looking a bit antsy, like he might want to get past. He's done that now. Now we wait and see if he's able to break away or if Chris Whitaker will go with him.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure if Sam Muir was going to do the attack, because you could see that Whitaker lifted. He took... Oh!
This is an attack.
Here goes Winkelmann.
Gets it done.
Oh,
beautiful.
Well done. That's not something you usually see from an Aston Martin liveried car. Usually they tend to run up the back of another person. But no, Winkelmann did it really well there. Moves up into P3. So Sam Muir was looking at trying to get a position earlier on, but he ends up losing one. And down into P4. And Luke Turner has also closed that gap, as well as Jordan Malcolm and Brendan Whitaker, actually. So you've got a proper battle of the top 8 cars in this race. Merritt has managed to put a slight gap to Whitaker, but it's still not outside of the danger zone. So with 8 minutes 40 past in this race, it's still anyone's to go. And it's been some pretty good racing up at the front. We're seeing gaps starting to form at the back, but even so, there seems to be a very close race from P10 onwards.
Yeah, there's not much field spread. We noted in qualifying that there are quite a few drivers very close to each other, and I think what we're seeing is the effect of the slipstream able to overcome any difference in raw lap time that there is between the drivers, and that's meant that this field is being kept very, very bunched up. I also suspect there might be a little bit of fuel saving going on at for some of the drivers, meaning that some of the fast drivers might not be pushing through and getting to their natural position in terms of outright pace. So very, very close. Basically, from 1st to 20th, there is very little gaps. There's 2 gaps larger than a second between 1st to 20th and none larger than 3. So, yeah, very, very close. The whole field is still very compressed. What that does mean is if you go for the early stop, you might run into traffic, as I'm just seeing a couple of drivers plummeting down the order. Adam Proctor, Jeff Adams, Tony Baker, all 3 just plummeting out of the top 20. Suspect that's a crash.
Yeah, that seems like a big crash. Let's have a look. So Adam Proctor has the first registered one here. Let's see what's going on. So Adam Proctor in the McLaren. Sorry, yo. He's in Italy, but he went for a Tokyo drift. Oh, that's an unfortunate place for that car to land. And everyone's just shooting down the inside without a care in the world. So yeah, that's why we saw the big flag there for the 3 cars. That was Adam Proctor, Jeff Adams, and Tony Baker all involved.
Yeah, unfortunate there for the drivers that came across him. Don't think Proctor did much wrong there. He got on the brakes when he could. Yeah, just unlucky when you end up right on the racing line, pretty much. Thankfully, there was that car's whip to the inside. Otherwise, I think that could have been somehow even worse. And I'm watching Glenn Setter Riddell just losing a couple of positions. So he just lost out to Thomas Martin, Paul Wood, and Richard King.
Yeah, almost 2 by 2. Ooh, that was close. That's close racing. Boys, keep it clean on the track, please. I'm all for rubbing, but just make sure that nobody gets taken out because of it. So that was a close one there. That was between Paul Wood and Richard King. You can see Thomas Martin, the focus of the camera there, in the Revolution Racing BMW, and he's got Glenn Riddell behind, as Liam was alluding to, all fighting. Look at this. They are so close as they go down towards zone 1, and Thomas Martin trying to force the issue down the inside. Doesn't look like he'll be able to make it work because he knows that the radius is not to his favour, so he will fall back in line and continue to follow the marching out line of these 4 cars. Looking at the gap to Adam Lavis is the car behind a P15, 4.8 seconds down the road, so no real threat from him at the moment. But these 4 are fighting as if it was the last lap of the race.
And Anthony Wickelman further up has just lost out to Sam Muir and Luke Turner. He's just got back past Luke Turner. They're actually side by side, and we go cut to live pictures right now. They're approaching a left-hander, so the inside is going to be where you want to be, and that's where Luke Turner is, and he gets past Anthony Wickelman, relegating the Aston Martin driver 2 positions in the last few corners. So it's now Merritt, who's got a 1.4 second lead on Chris Whitaker. Whitaker not with the pace of Merritt so far, but he does seem to have the legs on Sam Muir, who is in 3rd, and then it's Luke Turner and Anthony Wickelman, then Jordan Malcolm, Brendan Whitaker, and Mikey Hammond round out the cars in what is effectively the lead group, although there are 2 cars in Merritt and Whitaker that have separated themselves out from this group and are really making 1st, 2nd their own. But what we do not know is what fuel saving is going on. Some of these cars could very well be playing themselves into contention for the victory by saving more fuel than the likes of Merritt and Whitaker ahead of them. We just do not know at this point, and we will not know for quite a few minutes yet. 12, well, almost 13 minutes into a 40-minute race, so not even halfway, only just over quarter distance. So plenty of strategy to play out before we finish here tonight.
John Merritt carving himself a decent lead here, 1.4 seconds to Chris Whitaker there in P2. You can see the times as they cross the line. It was a slower lap there for Merritt with a 151.265 compared to Chris Whitaker's 151.201. So the pace is fluctuating between those 2. However, the point still stands. 1.3 seconds splits P1 and P2, and 1.5 splits P2 and P3. Behind them, Luke Turner down to Mikey Hammond in P8. It's still a close fight. Winkelmann has a slight gap advantage there to Jordan Malcolm, but in any case, they are within 1 second of each other. And this could change rapidly as we see some of these cars making slight mistakes coming into the chicanes and some of the fast sweeping corners. At the back end of the field, the gaps have started to make themselves apparent. If we have a look as to the pit stops of this race, has anybody made one? No,
Yes.
they haven't. Oh, well, they
There's
have.
a few
but it's-
drivers in pit lane right now. We've got
Yes.
Dale Sharp, Tony Baker, Adam Proctor, and Jeff Adams all in pit lane. And importantly, a few of those drivers we did see involved in incidents. This is not that lap. So I believe what we have found is the critical point where you can make a pit stop and get to the end, because otherwise I do not think these drivers would have pitted, because I do not believe they pitted as soon as they got back to pit lane. I think they continued on for another lap before pitting. So I suspect that is actually strategic. Yes, they've got damage and taking it as early as they can, but I think these are the first strategic pit stops.
So again, just on board with Mikey Hammond now. P8 chasing down that beautiful Kirby Aston Martin. It's striking, I'll give it that. That's something that would definitely turn heads were it at a real race weekend.
Yep, it's definitely a livery I like to run, not with the Kirby livery, just with the pink in the eyes. It makes for quite a nice, fairly plain livery, and it's obviously a homage to, if anyone has played the, I think it's the latest Kirby game, where Kirby has an ability to actually swallow a car and then be the car. So it looks like Kirby has just like opened his mouth far too wide and it's kind of half swallowed the car, but you can still see like the wheels and the bottom, like just the color of the car at the bottom of like the splitter. That's basically what it looks like. And obviously a bunch of drivers appreciated that and have run with that livery, including in this race Brendan Whitaker. So yeah, very much appreciate that livery, and that is the inspiration for it. It's not just a random Kirby livery, it actually is relevant to something that you can do in-game in that Kirby game. As we're watching, that looks like, who is it? So we're watching Kurt Chapman. Okay, yeah. So we've got Kurt Chapman in 17. We've got Jake Jackson ahead of him. Jake Jackson, I would have said qualified out of position because he usually runs towards the front in GT4s, but seems to be struggling around Imola. Currently in 16th, he's only made 4 positions since the start of the race, so certainly in about the right position. He's got Adam Lavis right ahead of him, but he's putting on a lot of pressure, so I suspect he does have more pace than Adam Lavis. You can tell that. You can see how he's hovering just to the inside of Lavis as they're approaching the braking zone. He's just checking to see. He's doing 2 things there. He's making sure that if Adam Lavis does brake earlier than he intends, he's not going to ram into the back of him. He's also making sure that if Adam Lavis does brake earlier than he thinks, he can make the move down the inside. And he's just showing himself in Adam Lavis's wing mirrors. And what that does is, if you've ever been on a road and you've had someone tailgating you, and you know you get that feeling, that bit of adrenaline, that bit of frustration with them, like, get out of my wheel tracks. That's exactly the same feeling that he is giving to Adam right now by sitting in his mirror. Some drivers can handle it, some drivers can stay calm. Others are going to feel like they do on the road when you've got a tailgater right behind you, and they're going to feel really pressured and might even just let them go, just to release the pressure. Either that or they might make a mistake. As we watch Jake Jackson deciding, I've had enough being behind Lavis, I'm going to come in, I'm going to attempt the undercut on him. Wood, and that is Jordan Malcolm. Is it not?
Yes, it is. That was a huge hit out the back. Just went a little too fast into the corner. We'll have a look at that replay. So here comes Jordan Malcolm. And he just takes a little too much speed. Touch the sand. Oh, and so lucky there for Mikey not to get caught up. And Jordan Malcolm managed to make it to the other side of the track, so he will rejoin with no issue. But big damage on the front right of that car. Oh, he gets tapped. Oh, he's going to lose it again. Well, that's unfortunate. But that was Martin. Thomas Martin that just tapped the back of Jordan Malcolm as they were going past.
See if we can get another view of that. See exactly what happened. I assume they got caught out because of the damage.
So there's Thomas Martin, and there it is. Wasn't too bad, but a touch nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely just got caught out with the lack of speed of Jordan Malcolm. Sometimes it can be hard to tell how quick you are closing in on someone, particularly if you're not expecting it. Like, you wouldn't have expected him to have had damage there. Probably didn't twig early enough, so would have assumed he was going faster than he was, and just catches him. And there is a little bit of a crest that you go over there. So that doesn't surprise me. Kurt Chapman gets all wrong.
That was...
I think Lavis saw that coming and deliberately avoided that as well, which if he did,
have.
props.
He might
Because that
have.
was from behind him.
So this actually goes back a couple more corners, so we'll watch it from here. So Lavis...
Oh,
wow,
so Lavis
that's some
outworked himself.
foresight. Lavis saw that coming. He really did. So he's seen that, and then, yeah, he's pulled out. Well done. I mean, lose the position for it, but at least he's still in the race. That's one way to do it.
Apologies if anyone is getting connection issues, any issues with the video. I believe Daniel's internet is struggling. At least it's struggling on my screen right now. Hopefully the stream is fine, so I'm going to continue to commentate as if the stream is fine, but I can barely see anything right now, so it's going to be commentary based mostly off the... No, it's not going to be off the live timing because my live timing has frozen as well. So
okay.
I cannot see anything right now.
Interesting. I don't have anything reporting on the stream side. Has dropped.
But you are incredibly robotic. I'm getting the cars in slow motion now.
Okay. Well, hopefully that resolves itself, but I guess I'll take over while...
Yes, if you can see you take over, and I'll hop back in once it's working again.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, so 20 minutes and 36 seconds of 40 here in this race. Here at Imola, John Merritt leads by 3 seconds to Chris Whitaker. Nobody in that front pack has pit as of yet, I believe. I will double check my numbers though, and that is correct. So the leader of the pits is currently Gary Cousins down in P15. So, looking at the battles on track, the closest at the front is the one you're watching. Luke Turner trying to make a move on Sam Muir around the outside. Can't quite get it done through Tosa. And now he'll try to follow him all the way up into Piratella and down towards Aqua Minerale. Luke Turner is like, my car fits here, I'm putting it here. Tries to go down on the inside. Sam can try and be defensive, but the door is open, so he won't have too much room to play around with, and he will lose the position, but might have the inside going into Aqua Minerale. No, falls back in line. Luke Turner takes the position of P2, and that's allowed Winkleman to also bring up the rear. So now a fight between P2, 3 and 4. Brendan Whitaker also close behind, as well as Mikey Hammond and Chris Whitaker. So Chris Whitaker, of course, having pit earlier, resolves himself back into P7, so he will have an advantage of everyone out the front, but hopefully the undercut will pay off for him, as we're still waiting to see when John Merritt will decide to pit himself. Looking at the back end of the race, big gaps forming there in P13 and P14, but a slight battle there from P15 down to P18. That is Gary Cousins, Paul Wood, Jordan Malcolm and Richard King. Other than that, everyone is pretty stretched out so far. Luke Turner trying to bring down the gap here as we see another Whitaker go into the pits, and that is Chris again. So let me just double check this. Does that mean... Where is my pit stops button? Here it is. Does that mean he's pitted in twice? No. Okay, I don't know why it registered as him having pit. My mistake. That was false information. So that is Chris Whitaker's first pit stop. So that wasn't an undercut. He just dropped back quite a lot. I'm not exactly sure what happened there to him, actually. I don't have anything registered as an event. So maybe we'll ask him if he decides to jump into the commentary box later on tonight. Sam Muir still chasing down Luke Turner here at the front. Doing a good job. Winkleman just dropping a little behind as well. Brendan Whitaker might... Oh, sorry, continue.
I wonder if Chris Whitaker, I've got the view back. I wonder if Chris Whitaker got the pit entry wrong because he's having a really, really long pit stop right now. He's been in pit lane for about 50 seconds, so he may have made a mistake and caused damage, and that's why he's got a first stop. Or I wonder if he's had registering a black flag.
So Matt Schmidtke is obviously our race controller tonight, and Chris is registering a black flag for some reason, not sure why. Okay, so I could have sworn I saw him go into the pit lane earlier. So I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what's there, but unfortunately that will ruin his race, as he has dropped absolutely all the way down. He's currently, so he is out of the pits now in 27th position.
Yeah, going to be hard to recover to anything like a half decent position from there. He's not even 27th, close to a big pack. He is 6 seconds off the back of Jeff Adams, who is 9, almost 10 seconds off of Tony Baker. So he's got a lot of work to do before he can even get close to something like a battle pack where he can actually start to make proper inroads into those positions, as Mike Hammond goes into the pits from the lofty top position, reaches on the top 5 and is currently in 9th place. So we'll see where he comes out. He'll be hoping to come out ahead of Gary Cousins, Paul Wood, Jordan Malcolm as the lead group currently that have pitted. As we watch Curtin Nommenson, what's going to happen here? Looks like he's just pulling over to retire.
Okay.
Interesting, because they're definitely not having as good a time in the GT4s as they did in the TCRs earlier. Troubling the top 10 in the TCR, didn't quite manage to get it, but he's hoping that he can get there in the MX-5s around Laguna Seca next week. And I hope anybody listening, particularly if you are a racer, will join us for the next round of the Production Car Cup from Laguna Seca, because MX-5s at Laguna is a great combination. We'd love to see as many people as we can get out onto that most famous of American tracks. Got illegal time gain penalties for no reason, apparently. Did Chris Whitaker? But that's got illegal interesting
time gain penalties for no reason. Interesting. Okay. So that. But how would you? I mean, the only way you do that is if you cut a corner, right? So that would warn you. I know. That would warn you to slow down. Apparently, what? Apparently, pitting gave me illegal time gain. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Obama. I don't know what to say to that. But okay. That's. I think that's the first I've seen that. All right. So John Merritt with the fastest lap now, 50.95, and yeah, I don't even know how to. Okay. I don't even know how to take that. Yeah, that's the first I've heard of that. Pitting gave him illegal time gain.
Got some more drivers doing getting into pit lane now. Hopefully they don't get illegal time gain penalties. Thomas Martin and Eduardo Zamora, the latest to get into the pits, and they both pitted from the top 10. So they'll hope to get ahead of Mikey Hammond, who is the lead of those that have pitted. Gary Cousins second, and Paul Wood third of those that have taken an early pit stop. John Merritt's not going to take an early pit stop. He's got a lovely clean track ahead of him. He's driving beautifully. Fastest man on track. He's just going to keep going until his fuel gives out, I imagine. Luke Turner is probably going to do the same. He's 5.6 seconds behind John Merritt, and again driving brilliantly, but he has got Samuel, Anthony Winkleman and Brendan Whitaker right behind him. So we do still have one Whitaker in the running, and that is the one in the Kirby livery. All 4 of them are within a second of each other. So very, very tight battle for second place effectively right now. But then it's 10 seconds back to Gillenstad or Riddell, who has done a really good job to get back up to 6th place. But he's got, I imagine that 10-second gap is actually filled with a bunch of the drivers who have already pitted. So we'll have to wait for the field to cleanse itself before we know the true positions of anyone behind Merritt, Turner, Muir, Winkleman and Whitaker. I was watching Oscar Haynes. He's putting pressure on the Pulse liveried BMW of Glenstead and Riddell, and Oscar Haynes up 3 spots from where he qualified. Of course, a little bit of that might be due to drivers that have pitted, so not making the progress he probably would have hoped for, given how fast he is in some machinery. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do and whether he's able to get past Glenn Riddell. No, he's going to go dive into pit lane and try and do it in the pit stops. Aggressive but sensible, attacking the pit lane limiter.
Yeah, it's obviously one of the things that you don't want to breach, otherwise you will be hit with a significant penalty there. Pit speed limit.
You certainly don't want to cross the white line on entry either.
Yeah, that's right. Which is funny, because it's funny how many times people just skip on that and they forget about that rule. You must stay to the right-hand side of that pit line until you reach its end. If you cross over it, it is considered a breach of track, and therefore you gain a penalty because of it. So yes.
Brendan Whitaker and Winkleman have both just pitted, and Winkleman has come out only a touch ahead of Mikey Hammond. So Hammond playing himself into about second nicely. Less than a tenth of a second between the two of them, and Hammond's going to be on nice warm tyres. I know there wouldn't have been a change tyres for Anthony Winkleman, just fuel, I imagine. So we shouldn't have any trouble with tyre warm-up. So this is very genuine, and with cars that should have a similar performance profile. Oh, gets it all out of shape on the exit to the hairpin, and Hammond had to take avoidant action and was not able to really carry through the extra momentum that he might have been able to had he saw it coming, but gets a better run through there. There should be, well, I was going to say move done, but it's not quite going to be move done. Certainly not. And Winkleman holds on by the skin of his teeth.
Interesting place there, down towards Ackerman O'Reilly, turn 11 and 12, 13 after the kink. You can get decent speed coming out of the Piratella combine, but then unfortunately it puts you into the outside of Ackerman O'Reilly, which is not the ideal place because the amount of load that goes into those front tyres tends to want to push you off onto the track. So yeah, Winkleman got saved by the layout of the track there. Mikey Hammond had no choice but to back out in order to survive, and so he will look to try and get him on the next go round. We still have 10 minutes left in this race here, 17 laps down, and John Merritt is still well and truly in the lead of this race. He's already pit. I didn't even notice that happened. So he pit, came out 3 seconds clear. Luke Turner's going to have to pull out quite a miracle if he wants to try and bring this one back.
Yeah, he certainly is. When John Merritt is in this kind of mood, he is nigh on unbeatable. He's one of the very, very fastest drivers in the club, has multiple championships to his name, and he's doing what he can to add a GT4 championship to his illustrious credentials.
He did it. Paul Wood did it. Got the move done there, has moved in front of Oscar Haynes. And now Gary Cousins look to do the same. Schmicke is telling us from race control, looks like Chris didn't clear a slowdown in time. That's unfortunate. So obviously just was zoned out, possibly had a warning and just didn't notice it, continued racing, and iRacing's pinged him for it. So that's unfortunate there. Chris was on a really, really strong run. So yeah, well, you win some, you dim some.
You certainly do. You certainly do. As we're watching this battle for the lower reaches of the top 10, Paul Wood is in 10th place. He's at the lead in this battle in the white and blue Merc. He's got Oscar Haynes behind him in the white and orange McLaren, or so to say.
Was that Richard King? Yes, it was.
That was Richard King going off track, trying to catch up with this group.
Exit stage left, but luckily for him, no damage. Jumps back in.
So it is a battle between Paul Wood, Oscar Haynes, Gary Cousins, and Jordan Malcolm for the back of the top 10. Richard King will try and do what he can to join this battle, but he's quickly running out of laps. And he's going to have to keep it on black stuff if he wants to be a fixture in that battle, given he's going to have to overtake 4 cars to get to the top 10. It's going to be difficult. Daniel Piper finally gets into pit lane and cleanses the field. Piper gets the award for doing the most laps in the first stint. And we'll see what his prize is for that. I suspect he's going to slip outside of the top 10. And certainly he does. If he's lucky, he'll be on the tail of this battle. No, not quite. So he's outside of the top 10, drops down to 17th position. So your order is Merritt's got a 3.3 second lead over Luke Turner, who's got 0.3 of a second over Sam Muir. So live battle right now for second place, but the podium positions seem to be wrapped up because between the two of them they've got almost 6 seconds and just over just over 6 seconds on Brendan Whitaker, who's got Anthony Winkleman 2 seconds behind him, and then Mikey Hammond in 6th place. He is battling with Winkleman as we cut to Samuel and Luke Turner. This is the battle for second place. Both these guys desperately going to try and avoid contact because that would be catastrophic to the races, and at the moment they've both got an almost guaranteed podium unless one of them decides to do something silly. One of them is going to do something silly. It's likely to be Samuel as he's in 3rd place, so he's one with something to gain. Holds off for now, not going to try and make him move through the Variante Alta, and instead is going to hold off probably for another lap. suspect there will be 4 laps remaining in this race. So maybe you're carrying a lot of speed on the exit of Rivazza. Sorry, my throat is struggling. And it looks like at this point that he might have a little bit more pace than Luke Turner ahead of him. I wonder if he put in a little bit more fuel and is able to just push the car a little harder at this late stage of the race. But Luke Turner seems to be under a lot of pressure here, so this will be an interesting battle to keep a watch of. In that battle I discussed earlier for 10th place, Jordan Malcolm seems to have been dropped off the back of it, so it's now Wood, Haynes and Cousins fighting for 9th, 10th and 11th place. Cousins the unlucky driver to miss out on the top 10 as things stand, but the 3 of them are separated by less than half a second, so very close there. But this is the main battle we want to be watching. It is Muir, it is Turner, it is for a battle for the podium spots, 2nd and 3rd place, both up for grabs here.
It is an interesting battle as well, because Sam Muir seems to have an advantage on half the circuit, and Luke Turner seems to have the advantage on the other half. It's actually quite balanced. They've been going back and forth, trading lap times between each other. Of course, John Merritt is still much faster than both these guys, and he's extended his lead thus far by a second on the previous check that we had, so he is now 4 seconds down the road. Sam Muir is doing a great job sticking to the back of Luke Turner here, but Turner just seems to have that slight leg up when they come around the final turn. So I'm not sure if Sam is on purpose just holding back in order to reserve something for the final bit, or whether or not he is just struggling to try and get past. Doesn't seem like he's pulling any punches, but I guess time will tell. We've got just under 5 minutes to go, and as Liam alluded to, only a handful of laps. We will try and notice and see if Barney will give us a heads up as to when we see that white flag fly. I would assume, based on the almost 2-minute lap time, that we will probably see 1 or 2 laps to go.
And here's the move coming from Sam Muir on Luke Turner, pulls to the inside on the entry into Tamburello. It gets past him even before the start of the corner. It's done that very well. Goes a little bit deep though. That's going to allow Luke Turner the opportunity to come back past him if he gets it right through here. And he does. Sam Muir drifting out wide there. Luke Turner might just have the inside line through Villeneuve. No, backs out of it. Sam Muir holds on to the position.
Yeah, too risky for Turner there. Sam Muir went deep. Sam Muir's gone deep. Oh, no, sorry, continue.
And Luke Turner's going to be on the outside as they go around Tosa. Cuts back to the inside, trying it all up and under. That'll give him the run into Piratella. Not quite able to get the run, actually. Thought he had more traction coming out of the corner. Evidently not the grip on the inside there, and Samuel, that should be now. Job done. He's calmed himself down. That run of corners has ended, and Samuel is ahead of Luke Turner with what I expect is only a couple of laps to go.
It was a very interesting procession there. Sam managed to go deep into the first couple of turns, get that move done, but then was slightly unnerved by Turner going through the next procession, going into turns 5, 6, that's into the Villeneuve and up through Tosa. Looked like Turner might be able to try and get him up to the run. Didn't quite, and so he's now fallen behind, and actually he's fallen behind into the yellow zone. That's 0.5, so Stemio's got a little bit of get up now as we wind down into the last couple of laps of this race. So hopefully Turner can just turn it up, so to speak, in the final couple and see if he can get that position back. But considering the pace that Muir had around parts of this track, now that he's free and in clean air, maybe he's got this locked down. Time will tell. If Sam Muir makes a couple of slight mistakes like he did in that previous lap, obviously that will work in Turner's favour. But as it stands, I think, like you said, Liam, he's calmed down, and maybe now he'll be able to just get a lock in that position and hold it to the end. What we can say for certain is that Luke Turner does not have a threat from behind. 5.5 seconds to gap to that beautiful Kirby pink car of Brendan Whitaker. And so as long as there are no major mistakes, Luke Turner will at least walk away with a podium tonight here at Imola.
Yes, he said it will. Both of these drivers doing an absolutely splendid job. Luke Turner, if he finishes the third, he'll be a little bit disappointed after running in second for so long, but Samuel driving absolutely fantastically. He's one of the most consistently quick guys in the GT4 Championship, has been for a number of seasons, so it can't feel too hard done by losing out to Samuel. Just want to pick up Chris Whitaker. We saw him having trouble getting that black flag and having a very, very long pit stop. 55 seconds in the end. He has caught up to the back of Jeff Adams and is in 23rd position. It's going to be hard for him to move much above 22nd, and that's assuming he can get Jeff Adams. So yeah, looking like he'll be finishing outside the top 20, which is not what he would have wanted coming into tonight. Would have fancied his chances. Was running very well in second place, comfortable second place as well, but not able to finish there because of what we believe is a mistake in not clearing a slowdown. So that's a lesson for everybody. Make sure you clear your slowdowns in time if you do get them and you do notice them. We cut to the onboard with John Merritt. Expect to see the white flag waving as he crosses the line. If Barney's doing his job.
There it is.
There is the white flag for John Merritt. 5-second gap. Going to be a comfortable parade lap for John Merritt to take the victory. And I really hope I haven't just put the marker on him, because that would be absolutely awful. I doubt I have, as we watch Hammond and Winkleman crossing the line. Winkleman in the Aston Martin, liveried Aston Martin. And then Mikey Hammond behind him in the Bailey Ladders Porsche. Mikey Hammond driving a great race. He's up 2 spots from where he started. Anthony Winkleman would make it third if he's able to get him, but he's got 1 lap to do so. He's going to have to get aggressive. Well, we know Hammond likes to be aggressive. As we watch Gary Cousins trying to overtake Oscar Haynes for the final position in the top 10. Oscar Haynes defends the inside, does so well, doesn't go too wide, doesn't go too defensive there, just does what he needs to keep Gary Cousins behind. But Gary Cousins looking very, very sharp right now and fancying his spot in that top 10. Oscar Haynes has driven a decent race. He's basically where he qualified, so he qualified where he should have and has stayed there. Gary Cousins is down 2 spots, so theoretically he does have a little bit more pace. He's going to try and go around the outside at Tosa. Gets it done. Absolutely brilliant from Gary Cousins. Just carries more speed around the outside. But does Oscar Haynes have the inside line? No, does not. He's going to tuck him behind, and that should be job done for Gary Cousins as long as he doesn't make a mistake through here, and he does not get through Piratella safely. And now they head down to Aqua Minerale. We now cut back to John Merritt as he takes the first part of Rivazza through the second part of Rivazza. No more corners to ruin his victory. Absolutely splendid stuff from John Merritt. Dominant victory. Is going to be clear of the field by a good 5 seconds as he crosses the line and takes the victory. Football's tuning. Samuel is going to get second ahead of Luke Turner. Then behind them is Brendan Whitaker in the Kirby liveried Aston Martin. Anthony Winkleman holds on for 5th place with Mikey Hammond in 6th. Thomas Martin is going to come home in 7th. And then we're going to have a bit of a gap before we see Glenn Riddell come into the picture to take home 8th spot. As we cut to the live battle still on track. This is Kurt Chapman. He's trying to get ahead of Tony Baker for 16th position. Tony Baker getting it all wrung out of the last corner. Kurt Chapman with more speed, but is it going to be enough to get past him as they head to the line? I doubt it. And no, not able to get past him. Just give him a little bit of a rub as they cross the line. So Tony Baker finishes ahead of Kurt Chapman, and that was Joe Baldwin you saw finishing there. Then this is Jordan Malcolm, Nick Fodiatis, Daniel Piper. It's going to be Piper, Fodiatis, Malcolm, and then Piper in that order, with Chris Whitaker not able to get Jeff Adams for 22nd spot in the end. So there we go. That was round 2 of the GT4 Championship live from Imola. I would say that was a really good track car combination.
Yeah, it was. The GT4s always deliver, and of course Imola is a fantastic track, as we just see a couple of the final cars crossing the line there. And we now have our results for round 2 here at Imola. Bring them up on screen for you now.
So John Merritt taking the victory, as we saw, and a dominant victory it was, and bagging himself 60 points in the process. Samuel bags himself 54 points for a solid 2nd place. Got to think that Chris Whitaker would have been in that 2nd, 3rd place, battling for the podium positions had he not made a mistake, but instead he ends up outside of the top 20. Luke Turner, after being overtaken by Samuel with only a couple of laps to go, finishes on the podium in 3rd place. Brendan Whitaker takes home 4th place for Kirby in 44 points. Anthony Winkleman comes home in 5th for 42 points. Mike Howard is in 6th. Thomas Martin in 7th. Glenn Riddell gets up into 8th spot, making up a few positions from where he qualified after he qualified in what would have been 16th and is the biggest mover inside the top 10. Then we have Paul Wood in 9th. Gary Cousins gets the final spot on top 10 because he overtook Oscar Haynes on the very last lap to do so. Richard King is in 12th. Eduardo Zamora is in 13th, and he is our biggest mover of the race, up 11 spots. Absolutely fantastic race from Eduardo Zamora. He must be dead chuffed with that. Adam Davis finishes in 14th, up 3. Dale Sharp finishes in 15th, up 10 spots. Also having a fantastic race to round off what has been a fantastic night for Dale Sharp after he took the victory in the TCR at Knockhill. Then we have got Tony Baker in 16th, Kurt Chapman in 17th, John Baldwin in 18th, Nick Fodialis in 19th, and Jordan Malcolm in 20th. Then we have Daniel Piper in 21st, Jeff Adams in 22nd, Chris Whitaker not able to make any inroads after getting that penalty and finishes in 23rd. Neil De Bruyn is in 24th, Bowman in 25th, Jake Jackson retired with 8 laps to go, Robin McGrath retired with 9 laps to go, Nominson and Adshead both retired with 11 laps to go. Bartosz was an early retirement, 14 laps, and Adam Proctor the first retirement with 16 laps to go, and Peter Foster did not take the grid. These are your updated championship standings after round 2. John Merritt with a decent 16-point lead over Sam Muir. That's a battle that is going to rage throughout the season, I believe. But Sam Muir is going to have to knock up some wins if he's going to get back ahead of John Merritt. Gary Cousins is in 3rd place with Mike Hammond in 4th, Adam Lavis in 5th, and Glenn Riddell in 6th. Kurt Chapman 7th, Dale Sharp 8th, Oscar Haynes in 9th, and Paul Wood in 10th. I suspect that top 10 is going to shift and move around quite a lot. We've had a few drivers rock up today that weren't there for round 1, very, very fast drivers, might I add. And we do have 2 drop rounds, so I think from Gary Cousins down, it is all up in the air. You can consider a lot of those drivers almost even on points because we do not know who has effectively had that drop round and who hasn't. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's happening from Hammond down. But I think it's going to be hard to catch Cousins, Muir, and Merritt, such as the head start they've got. Cousins is in reach, but Muir and Merritt, they definitely seem to be our championship protagonists at this early stage of the season, unless someone can go on a really big run and make the most of those 2 drop rounds. So, no drivers joining us as of yet. We'll give it another minute or 2 before we give up on getting any driver interviews. But for now, we're just going to have a replay of the start of the race to keep us company whilst we wait. Was there a particular moment in the race that stood out to you, Daniel? I think for me, it's got to be that penalty for Whitaker.
Yeah, of course. So just an unfortunate one there. So again, it's only speculation. Maybe Chris will clarify it for us because he has to join us in the booth. But yeah, so from what we can tell, there was a time gain penalty applied. He believes it was from when he went into the pit lane. Race control seemed to think that there was a corner cut that wasn't completely cleared, and so when he came into the pit lane, because it wasn't cleared, a penalty was applied. In any case, that completely ruined his race. He ended up coming 23rd. So think about it, he was 2nd on the grid when we started this caper. Ends up in P23. So no great lineup for him. The other one, moment of note, would have to be probably Jordan Malcolm, just going a little too wide. Coming into turn 5, I believe it was, and yeah, just losing that car and punting it right into the wall, getting that severe damage on that front right. We saw it happen a couple of times, but his was definitely the worst there. Oh, as you can see, a little bit of bump and run there from the red, the lattice BMW at the back. I believe that's Dale Sharp. Could be wrong now. I think that was Dale Sharp. And yes, we just allow our racing to go through some of the registered incidents that happened at the early part of this race. And that's Joe Baldwin. Oh, he kept it. Well done. He loses a bunch of positions, but yeah, Joe Baldwin managed to catch the back of that Aston Martin there. And there goes Mike Hammer going a little wide, trying to fight with Oscar Haynes as they go down towards Aqua Minerale. But yeah,
yes,
look. Oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. I was going to say we've been doing the booth by John Merritt, runaway victor of the second round of the GT4 Championship from Imola. Absolutely dominant John. I had to wait a little bit before he took the lead, but once he took the lead, you never looked back.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. No, it was a good night. I think Chris was just struggling to get his tyres switched on a bit, but they're certainly sensitive too. So you can just overdrive them that bit much, and you watch the lap time bleed away too.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned struggling to switch on the tyres, and that might be why you had an edge on pace than Chris Whitaker. After these stops, we saw that Luke Turner actually wasn't too far behind you at the stops. I think it was 3 seconds, so you gained a little bit through the pit stop phase. Were you a little bit worried at that point about the threat from Luke Turner and Samuel behind, or were you confident you had them covered?
I think I had a little edge on speed, Liam, but yeah, Luke had certainly done a good job on the pit entry and definitely on the fuel save too. So it's all that finger action at the moment. He's on the finger control, so I think he was spot on the fuel save.
Yeah, that baffles my mind that you can do that with finger controls. What's it take to put in a performance like this? Did you do much practice throughout the week? Is it a car or a track that you just gel with really well? Like, what goes into putting 5 seconds on the rest of what is a field absolutely stacked with talent?
No, I can't say, mate. I actually just jumped in as I joined, so I probably had 20 minutes in the server before quali. Just happened to land on a reasonable setup and tried 2 setups, and away she went. So I also, as I probably alluded, I just think that race set turned the tyres on pretty well early too. So that enabled me sort of to edge that gap and not have anyone in the tow.
Yeah, excellent. So great to hear you can do that with minimal practice. Is
it honestly a surprise?
No, it's not a surprise.
Everything this man jumps in, he's just like, yeah, I have no practice, watch me just smash the lap record, no worries.
Yeah, he does have quite an incredible talent to be able to be quick at anything he jumps in. Just demoralising for the rest of the field, but excellent for us to watch. I'm glad I'm here and not in a car, because otherwise I would have been very sad listening to that. At least from here I could be like, oh yeah, cool, excellent, and just maintain some hope in the back of my mind that maybe I could get close at some point. No, absolutely fantastic. You're in the lead of the championship. Championship's got to be the aim. Will we see you next week?
Mate, no, sorry, I'm going to unfortunately going to miss a couple of rounds, so that'll open everything back up. So just encourage everyone to get along and build the fields, and it's a sensational class, and you know I just think that ability to jump in these cars and with something close to a setup, you know, keeps an even field. So yeah, unfortunately can't join for a couple of weeks.
It's a real shame to hear you're going to be out for a couple of weeks, but I bet everybody else in the championship is licking their lips, particularly Sam Muir in second place. You just have to make sure you win the races that you're here, so that the shot kick rounds don't matter.
Yeah, I'll have to keep it clean from there, Liam, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight on the broadcast. It's very much appreciated. Always love to hear from you. Have fun with whatever you're doing for the next couple of weeks, and we will see you next time you're out in the GT4 class.
Appreciate it, and thanks to the club and for the broadcast.
Thank you very much. And with our race winner, John Merritt, having been spoken to and hopefully getting off to enjoy the rest of his night, we'll now cross over to Paul Wood. Qualified in 12th, finished in 9th place in the top 10. Overall, decent night of racing.
Yeah, not too bad at the old Bailey Ladders Merc GT4. It was a tough night at the office. I started or qualified better than I usually do, but I went backwards in the beginning, kept making a few mistakes in the first couple of laps, so I dropped back to the mid-teens, but slowly worked my way through. But yeah, the Merc for me tonight was just struggling a little bit of straight line poke, so it was making it a bit hard. It was plenty of turn and that through the corners, but as soon as I got onto the straight, it's just not enough legs. But I'll keep working on it and see if I can get that to improve over the rest of the season. But yeah, overall it was a fun evening. It's always an interesting track, and into the points we're getting up there, I was getting a bit nervous, but managed to actually bring it home and survive this week without destroying my car as I did last week.
Yeah, that's always a bonus. If you can you share with me the trick for doing that? Because I could do it. No, I can't do that. No, in all seriousness, though, you mentioned a few incidents towards the start of the race. Do you have any insight as to where those incidents come from? Were you just pushing a bit hard, struggling on the cold tyres, stress?
Initially, the track was a bit warmer, so I got caught out by. I forgot to readjust my brake bias from my once the tyres were in the right temperature, so I kind of had a bit too much on the rear, so the rear got a bit loose, which made me wobble through the first couple of corners, so I lost the position there. And then as I was coming to, just in the replay here, just down through the gully, I got another wobble again, and trying to gather that up, I didn't go down enough gears, so I tried to go back up the hill starting in 4th, and I dropped back to 3rd, which is still not enough, so I lost a couple of positions that way. And so I managed to just drop back a little bit, and then I lost one on the straight because the old beamers have just got a hell of a lot of straight line speed. So after that, it was like, right, just get the car up to temperature, which I did, and then slowly started to work my way forward. But like I said, every time I got to the straight, I was right on the back of people, and then I just could not get a move done. So it was getting a bit frustrating. So I had to try and work it through the middle of the field and hope I had enough of a gap to hold it down the straight. So yeah, hard night, but happy, I think, overall with that result. I think it was probably the best I was going to get for the evening, but yeah, onwards to next week.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the names ahead of you. Merritt, Muir, Turner, Whitaker, Rinkelmann, Hammond, Martin, Riddell. There's some pretty big names ahead of you, so I think you've done a really good job to finish 9th place. I mean, you got some decent names behind you as well with, Oscar Haynes, Dale Sharps, quick, Adam Lavis is quick. You've got obviously Jack Jackson and Chris Whitaker both had crashes, so yeah, I think 9th is a really solid result. So yeah, congratulations. I think you really should be happy with that. You mentioned the brake bias there and how you had it set back a bit too far back towards the rear. Is that something you do often? Set it towards the front at the start of the race, and then once the tyres warm up, move it a bit backwards?
Yeah, I usually do, just to make sure that, again, because to get this car to turn, I've got the rear of the car with a fair bit of slide and that in to actually get the rotation. So I've got to be careful in the beginning till I get the tyre temps up, because if I try to go a little bit too hard, she is quite happy to put the rear of the car in front of the front. So yeah, it's I wind it forward, make sure that the tyres get up to temp, and then once they get up to temp, I actually wind it back, because as the rear tyres do warm up, I lose turn again. So with the brake on the front, I actually start to get too much push, so I wind it back as I go, and as the fuel comes off, and it just keeps the car fairly neutral and fairly consistent through the turning.
Yeah, excellent. Good to pick up that hint. Hopefully some of the slightly less quick GT4 drivers are watching, and they're able to take that hint and use it to help them get a bit more rotation. Definitely, I find with the particularly with any really front-wheel drive production car, it's the trick is getting in the rotation. That's usually the struggle, rather than over rotation. So
yes, yeah, that's like with front-wheel drives, your best bet is to try and get a lot of your brake bias to your rear, so you can actually keep the fronts free to do, because they're doing your turning plus your accelerating, so you want them to do as little amount of work as possible. So yeah, you put most of the stress for the braking on the rear tyres, and it'll help you to keep a bit of traction in the front. But yeah, in this field, it's one of those things. Every little bit counts, because through the whole field, there's a lot of quality drivers out there and a lot of pace. It's a real good class of car to race, and very close racing. So you just never know what's going to happen week from week. So yeah, it's quite fun.
Definitely one of the highlights of the GSRC club. Every season we have the GT4s. It's a fantastic season, and it's always well attended. Like I said, 30 drivers is pretty much the norm. I think at some point I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up getting out to 2 splits if we just get a few more drivers in there, but it's suddenly earned its berth in a primetime spot after it got promoted after being the junior series of the GT3s for so long. GT3s being classic. You've done very well in yourself, winning the amateur split of that. So yeah, really good to see them going from strength to strength. And just before I let you go, just cover off, what's your goal for the season in terms of championship position or individual results? Anything you're particularly working towards?
Oh, look, I'd love to say, I'd love to get into on a podium, but unless I can, again, start getting a few more higher finishing positions, I don't think that's going to happen. But if I can stay top 10, I think I'll be happy with that. Last season didn't quite go to plan as I would have liked, so if I can improve on that and just keep improving on the car and get it more comfortable. So at this stage, for me, it's just keep the car straight, as minimal mistakes as possible, and yeah, see where I'm at sort of midway through the season, and then I'll start to really define whether I push harder to try and get higher, or just try to consolidate where I'm holding on the championship. But yeah, like a podium for the championship, like I said, would be great, but at this point in time, there's just too many Class 8 drivers out there, I think. So yeah, goal at this point is just work on my consistency. Not get eaten alive like you're seeing on the screen at the moment.
Yeah, it wasn't
Well, I mean, you're leading that pack, so and you had some really, really good battles throughout all of them earlier. And we saw you and Richard King going quite aggressive going down towards the final couple corners. A little bit of contact there as well, but you both kept it on the black stuff, so no harm, no foul. But I think you did absolutely crazy in today's race. What was that, 3 positions gained from your start?
Yeah, 3. Yep. Yeah, four positions basically in the end. So yeah. Yeah, not as good as my usual standard. I prefer higher, but yeah, everyone keeps yelling at me that I've got to qualify better. So that's sort of, I suppose that's my goal. I've been working on this season, is both GT3 and in this, is to qualify a little bit further up the field and you know, try to go from there. But you know, as you get higher up, those positions to get harder and harder, and you've got to work, you know, twice as hard to get, you know, even a quarter of the results. So it's a good battle. The only way to do it is just keep doing the laps and keep trying and hope that you improve. So yeah.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Well, if you want to see how Paul Wood goes with his goal to try and remain in the top 10 and improve his consistency, you'll have to tune in next week. Until then, good luck with all your racing, Paul, and thank you very much for joining us in the comments box.
No worries, thanks guys.
Thank you very much. We've had a last-minute addition to the drivers joining us in the commentary booth. Joe Baldwin, club president and avid driver who finished 18th today, has joined us. Joe, how was your night's racing?
It was a bit of a wild one tonight, Liam. How are you, Liam? G'day, Daniel. Yeah, and the slowdowns have been driving me mad for about a week now, different tracks, and I heard the guys talking about after the race that the algorithm for slowdowns has actually changed on iRacing now. So if you happen to get a slowdown, you've got to leave your foot off the gas until it clears. You have to clear it immediately. You can't bleed it off like you used to. So this is why everyone's having so much trouble with slowdowns, which had I had one tonight and it popped up to 2.2 seconds. And trying to bleed it off, I ended up losing 4.5 seconds to Kurt Chapman trying to clear it. Now, I just was shaking my head trying to work out why, and that's why. So yeah, it caught me out in the prior race earlier on, the TCRs. It got me a couple of times, and it got me tonight as well. But overall, I did no laps in practice. I think I did half a lap in practice. I just qualified and then raced. Kurt Chapman actually had a bit of a half lose on the first lap, I think, and I managed to avoid him when he came across the track, and so that put me back to last. So to finish 18th, I'm pretty happy with that, really.
Yeah, 18th recovering from last is very, very good, and that's 5 places higher than where you qualified. So I think 5 places higher than where you qualified without a first lap incident is a very good race. So to do it with a first lap incident that's put you towards the back, brilliant.
Yeah, it was. I put some good laps in there in the middle. I'd even said to the guys before the race started, I said, I've got a bad habit. I really suck in qualifying, and I don't get going until the last 5 laps of the race. And I went and put my 5 fastest laps in the 5 last laps of the race tonight. So same old thing though with my work schedule, guys. I just don't get to practice. You know, I come home and I'm lucky if I make the first race. So yeah, practice is a bit of an expensive commodity for me. I don't get to do it much.
Yeah, but the main thing is that you're still able to get out and enjoy it, and you just set your expectations accordingly, right? You know, if you don't practice, you're not going to be towards the top, so you set a position that you think you can go for, and then that's your victory. So you can still have fun, you don't have to be winning races.
No, absolutely. Look, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Winning races is a bonus when it happens, but so long as you like, I had a great race at the end there with Kurt Chapman and Tony Baker. I was a little bit quicker than Tony after his pit, and then his tyres come up to temperature and he pulled away a bit, and then we both managed to catch up to Kurt. So it was quite close at the end, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great, but it's not a track that lends itself well to overtaking or anything. I'm not sure how they went up the front, but it is difficult to pass here. So if you minimise mistakes, you'll hang on to your position. But Tony got a good pass on Chapman on the last lap. So yeah, kudos to him. And it was really clean down at turn 1. So it can happen. It's just not the norm.
No, it's not the norm. Certainly not the norm. Any news from the club you'd like to share?
Not so much at the moment. We had a bit of an error on Monday night, I think a couple of people know, but we're going to up the amount of cars that can enter into servers. Like we're going well with our numbers at the moment in servers and stuff like that. So it's good to see we're ticking along pretty well. We got the AGMs coming up in a few months, and hopefully things will get to tick along as they've been, or we might get some new members in. So that's something we're going to have to start planning for. It's saying it's 3 months away. That'll come around quicker than we think, right? So that's about it. So everything's going well. We got the TCRs are on the mountain on Saturday night. I've got a 60th to go there, so I won't be able to make it again. I missed the first 2 rounds as I did last season, but I'm pretty proud of the way the club's run along at the moment. So so long as we keep doing what we're doing, it'll keep people happy.
Excellent. Good to hear that the club's in good health. Thank you very much for joining us, like you normally do on a Wednesday night, and best of luck for the rest of your racing in the week.
No worries, thanks guys, and just thought goes out to the Anzacs for tomorrow. So I know I'll be up at dawn and pay my respects. So respect to the Anzacs for tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, well said. All right, well, that concludes our driver interviews for the night, and of course we're only able to bring you those driver interviews because of the proud support of our sponsors who allow us to put on these broadcasts, and they include Waste Options, Sprayton non-alcoholic cider, Orbic Australia, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave Australia, and Flash Graphics. Without their client support, we would not be able to put on these races, we would not be able to put on these broadcasts, and everybody would be very bored on their weekday nights whilst they wait for the real world racing to occur on the weekend. We do of course have more racing coming up for you over the next few nights, starting off with Formula V and Super Formula Lights tomorrow. That will be broadcast. That's our last well, it's not our last broadcast for the week, tell a lie. That is our Thursday night broadcast, which will be brought to you by Daniel, and we hear from Sam that he's going to be commentating the Super Formula Light. I have to wait and see what happens for the Formula Vs, whether they will broadcast, if there is a broadcast, whether it'll just be Daniel, whether we will have a commentator. For for Friday, we have the new Stock Car Series, which enjoyed a good start and is being broadcast, so tune in for that on Friday night. On Saturday, we have the Mountain Men. That's not broadcast, but it's a good, fun, fairly social series, so get involved in that. That is just different cars going around Mount Panorama, so if you are a Mount Panorama nut, get involved in that. And then on Monday, we come back for the GT3s and it's the Supercars, is it not, on a Monday? And that will be broadcast, and then we'll be back on next Wednesday for the Production Car Cup and the GT4s once again. Until we see you next, take care of yourselves, enjoy your Anzac Day. If you are paying your respects in the morning, good on you, and best of luck with that. If you are not, then enjoy your public holiday, and we will see you all again very soon. Goodbye for now.